here from Alliance?
Well, step one, I was hoping that T1 would take out that Tidehunter. I think that's also a really good option if Alliance was able to get it. I think other hero that me and Effie were looking at is probably the Lina is the other, of course, when the panel was talking about, at least for Alliance, heavy contested hero between the two of them. And then we'll trickle down to our, our Snapfires, our Disruptors, big team fight heroes, depending on what they're playing against. And of course, Alliance might have to be thinking right now is, do we want to ban the Doom? Do we move it up in priority? Do we look for IO? Because they had a couple struggle games on it too, so let's see what it's going to be.
I think we could expect a Magnus pick too, just because of his performance yesterday was absurdly good. He did well in groups, but after what we saw yesterday, I think this should be a hero to look for, and there it is.
There we go.
Priority shifted for sure after the yesterday series.
And for T1, whenever we watch them play, they just seem like you give them a comfort pick and then they will outplay. That's the name of the game most of the time. Jenkins always says that this team will pick the greatest draft and still fight you. And they would go 3 Midas and still fight you because they just know that they can perform the team fights better. So, Effie, could we expect more of these team fight heroes to go away from Magnus, or will we see the Doom and the Carls running around a lot?
I think it just really depends on what Alliance are looking to play here, but the reason why we expected Magnus to come out is because number one, he does enable his 3D cores, but in the past, Magnus used to just be played around RP, right? And that's what people saw him. But this new style of just one toss skewer back as a form of initiation is absurdly good. You can play without the full RP. And in the right hands, Magnus can just check a lot of bases. And those are just ensuring that your net worth is always up, and just always having the ability to initiate or counter-initiate, right? So it's incredibly valuable, especially in the hands of T1 or Alliance, by the way. S4 plays a great match, so I'm a bit surprised that they didn't actually consider it here.
Yeah, I'm surprised that their opener, actually, the 2 supports just like this. Maybe they're really expecting one of those like spirits that are really pesky and they don't want Lion to be banned out. They want to have that part disabled for it, but I know Snapfire being super contested, but really interesting to see them just open up with that. Because now it's your supports are not going to be frontliners, initiation will be a little bit harder, and T1's going to be like just snap space Lina. So that feels like, I mean, I look at T1s and it just feels much more comfortable, and it feels like it just ticks more boxes in the draft overall.
100%. And I think of all of the mid heroes that you run first phase, you should be looking at the Lina, because she doesn't have any bad lane matchups. She scales into the late game. She sends waves and can play with only 2 items, which are BOTs and DKs. Obviously built into Silver, which is the DPS item of the patch. Perhaps the reasoning behind Lion is that they know that T1 do like to play heroes like Puck that are slippery, and just securing it early in the draft, make sure it doesn't get banned out later. Another idea behind it could be that if they are taking a fight on Vision, and they have Vision of this Magnus, Lion can pre-cast the Hex, and when he links in, he'll be instantly Hex, right? So that could have been what they were looking at here.
Also saw Lion yesterday. 2 times we saw teams pick like illusion heroes into the Lion, or pick like these elusive heroes into the Lion, and we were like, wow, Lion looks really good now. And we saw the mana drain like owing throughout the game. He's just getting super farmed and taking out either the TB illusions or it was, I can't remember what the other one was, but either Spectre was the other one. So.
Yeah, that's typically how it works. And Lion was forgotten for a really long time, up until Puck was the mid-hero of the patch 8 months ago, and it made Lion rise to popularity, right? Storm as well. And Storm has been an incredible hero throughout this tournament, I would say. I doubt we'll be seeing it come out of Alliance. It's not a limp hero, but it is pretty nice here. Like, I look at these 2 heroes, and I would like to see a Storm.
Yeah, I want something that Alliance can start the fight with, that starts the fight with the Lion, that you can jump in and follow up, and something else that, Lion's going to take some time, right, to get that Blink Dagger. So I want something that's just going to naturally be able to go in and start the fight, which could be that mid-hero. But it's going to be limited, because I did get to see I got to actually cast the T1 versus Alliance in the group stages too, and they put Limp in a bad matchup because he needed to be that kind of catch and jump in, and he never got to play the game. It was a 20-minute stomp. They got Necrophos mid. He was Ember. He was trying to be the one that like lead in pre-blink daggers on his other cores, and the game never even got off the bat for them. So
I expect S4 to fill that role we were talking about of jumping in with the Lion, but I can't really think of any high damage offlaners at the moment. But that's the nice synergy of having a Snapfire as well. You can go into the Lion and you can just throw the Mortimers from a distance. Something that I get reminded of when I look at things like this is they actually Oh, they do ban out the Void. That's unfortunate because they did try this style of having Nico maybe just play Void, be the initiator, and putting Limp on something long range like a Sniper. And Sniper can be very good here actually because he outranges Lina and it forces her to buy a Blink Dagger.
But they did lose with the Sniper versus T1 in the group stage too, right? They like picked it in versus the Razor to try to counteract it, and Limp got ran down by an ET the entire game with Zephyr chasing him. So I mean, it's definitely a good pick here. Just like that might be like this bad memory inside of Limp's mind where he's like, maybe give me something else there. So we're seeing very team-specific bans coming out, and it is going to be the Ember. So I felt like this was going to be forced, but now it's like into this matchup versus the Lina. I'm a little worried already off the bat from Limp because I saw this the other day. I saw this in the group stages. It was a worse matchup versus Necrophos, but. Is it maybe? Maybe Lina's even worse. Sure, in the mid game you can do something about it because Lina's squishy, but.
Depending on how you choose to scale your abilities, you can always just go for Flame Guard and just farm camps in between. But Ember does get severely bullied by Lina in lane, but he is going to be good at dodging her abilities, and of course, dodging Magnus's abilities. If you have a Remnant out, you can just react faster than he casts the spells.
What can we be seeing in the 3 position? Because they also talk about the DK for S4. Very successful hero against Beast Ghost. You would talk about needing someone that can be that frontliner. What are options left in the offlane?
They've traditionally liked something like a Beastmaster, something that can actually give them some natural push in the lineup. Because when you already have a mid Ember, sure you're going to be able to fight in battle, but now your lineup is already really crippled on pushing. So that's something they really do like, something with some reach. But into Bane, that can be a little bit more complicated.
I like the idea of Mars with the Snapfire. It seems like a very strong lane, obviously with the minus armor and the physical damage from Rebuke. Also can give them the Mars Arena plus Mortimer's combo, which is has been quite successful historically.
It's also a good Hunter combo with the Lion. You're asking for a high damage offlaner. Mars does bring it to the table, so yeah. It is a high execution hero, however, which might be difficult when you're in the lower brackets. Perhaps the first game is the game where you try that out.
And out comes Dawnbreaker, so I'm really glad that this hero has had her main stage moments, right? Because when we were watching groups, there was maybe 2 or 3 Dawnbreaker games played by exclusively VP, and everyone was just like, oh, she got nerfed, she's not a great support. She doesn't have to be.
The two big ones actually are the last two picks from T1. The 2 heroes I thought were going to be amazing in the group stages, and people were like, yeah, let's not pick Bane too much. And then we come to main event and it's like, boom, Bane every game or Bane every other game. Same thing for Dawn. I like that pick. I think also that might dissuade them from going for something like Mars too.
Exactly.
Because then like the Mars ult comes down, Dawnbreaker is going to be able to set up and counter initiate heavily. So maybe that might put a little bit more fear into Alliance to just look for head-on team fights, because right now it's looking a little hard for them too.
For sure, and to add on to that, this concept that they have going with this Lion and Ember is basically get in, kill a target quickly, and get out. And by having the Dawnbreaker, you can negate that. Also, Bane is quite good at killing the Ember Spirits, so they do help that a little bit. They do have the catch for him.
The fun T1 poke is, I know what, it was Curtis who likes to always say it. Now they have like a sleep into a skewer. They have like this really fun little combo. Lots of poke as well coming out from Dragon Slave. They have Shockwave, so they're always gonna have good ways to just spam, take fights.
What's the logic behind the Morphling here?
It's a pretty good Morphling game.
Okay.
There is the Bane who could catch him out and kill him. That is a threat there, but in the Dawnbreaker, Lina, and Magnus, you can preemptively cast your Strength and More Fight, and scales better than these heroes, including the Lina. It's just that I don't feel like he's going to have the space, honestly.
It feels greedy.
Yeah.
With the 2 supports as well, like they're kind of weaker supports. I feel like his lane could be a bit hard, and in the past also people used to really like Lina versus Morphling also. Like sure, it's a little bit different, times have changed where it's just right-clicking Lina, but it's still just kind of the same concept. Like if you catch Morph in a bad situation, boom, Laguna Blade plus a double nuke, he's probably just gonna die if he's out of position.
And the thing about that is you don't want to go in first with your Morphling because you could get gripped or LSA'd from Fog, right? But your Ember doesn't want to go first either because the same thing could happen to him. So they actually do have a lack of a strong, durable frontliner because neither Ember nor Morphling can fill that role for each other unless there's some kind of snowball start on the Ember.
What's the S4 hero even left, right? Shaker's gone, DK's gone, Tide's gone. It's like Beastmaster's one of the few left, but...
They've done Legion before against the Bane. We've seen how that's worked out.
Yeah.
It's a really tough matchup, especially if you have to be the one initiating, because you just get Nightmare, and that's over.
It could just be the Mars here. It doesn't
Oh,
really-
well,
It gets
there's no
banned as
Mars
well.
anymore.
Yeah.
We're out of heroes. Ooh.
limited.
Is Centaur a possibility here? Can we run that as the tanky initiator, even if he's not the most consistent stun?
I just haven't seen Centaur at all. I
Yeah,
don't
me
know if
neither.
I don't know if the hero's very good anymore.
I don't think he's good enough here, especially with the way people have been playing Lena, just building a Satanic. She absolutely shreds him, and there's no
Okay.
concern of dying, right? It's just weird to me that they picked this Morphling over the S4 hero
Yep.
and didn't last phase it, because I don't think it would have been banned out here, because it doesn't look like the greatest of Morphling games. Like, he does
agree.
fine versus all of these heroes individually, right? He can scale, there's no kind of instant stun, but like you said, he can die from fog, he can just get burst down if he makes one mistake.
And now they had a bunch of time to really think about what that last pick is for Savage. Just like, okay, do you want to play like a PL or something? I mean, there's an Ember, so maybe not the PL, but he can just think about his specific matchup, what he wants to play versus that Morphling. And he has a Bane, so super strong lane that he's going to have. He's going to be able to farm really well. He's not going to be pressured too much.
It's also a savage emblematic hero, the Morphling, so he knows exactly what he hates playing against.
Exactly.
So it's a tough thing to give him time on. And Mira's completely right. If you're picking, when you have the last two picks, you have to consider what can your enemy ban in these last two bans, which is why many times you just pick the hero that you think might get banned or the position you think might get banned. And now S4 without options. I mean, I guess, the Wraith King is going to be the option. Okay.
Ooh.
What do you think of that matchup against Morphling?
So they do want to play a higher tempo game, and Wraith King does hit his timings quite early, especially if he chooses to go for some kind of armlet build, right?
Yep.
They don't want to give Morphling space to farm, but the carry matchup of Morphling to Wraith King, like, Morphling destroys Wraith King, I would say. And
Especially with stats built.
it has to just be high tempo, run them over, because you look at Alliance's draft, there's not really any high cooldowns that you're
Yes.
afraid of. There's a mana burn from Lion, there's Chains, Ember can just keep you there. So I'm guessing they just want to steamroll them after hitting a timing.
So I need something fast. I mean, Timber is a good option. I know Brian was like screaming it over there on the left versus like the Wraith King and all that. It's not bad. It is an S4 hero, and there's just not really much left. He's gonna go for his Sanking. I feel like
Defensive option?
these lanes look super weak from Alliance. I'm worried. I've seen the Sanking struggle almost every game I've seen it played lately.
So the strength of the Sanking here is the defensive ability, right?
Yes.
He's really good at defending towers, really good just setting up Sandstorm. Hard to push the safe lane tier 1 with that, theoretically.
I would agree, and if we're gonna go on this 20-minute timing that T1 want to play for, then Sand King is one of the better heroes you can pick here, but it's pretty much because there was nothing left. However, there is the ability to stun or counter initiate, which is always going to be nice. It's just that I don't think this Sand King is going to be the one to go on first. Something Alliance do have going for their Morphling, though, is there's a lack of a natural vessel buyer on T1.
Yeah, definitely. Did we? I don't
Simplifies
think we
the
saw
gameplay.
I don't think we saw the Dawnbreaker go for it. There is Enfeeble, which can be frustrating in later stages, but early on we've seen, most people aren't really skilling it. So I think if Alliance, if they can play fast-paced, if they don't get smashed in their lanes, they do have a good way to fight back. Because I do think T1's is a bit greedy for them to actually just it's going to take some time for them to build up this Wraith King, as we've seen. That hero's gotten nerfed several times. So Alliance, I mean, I have to just stare at lanes. Like first 10 minutes, I have to see if S4 has a decent time on this Sanking, because I've seen so many games lately as Sanking where this hero just doesn't get to play. Like it dies like 4 or 5 times in laning phase, and then you're just a single blink stun.
But there's also this potential of Alliance playing the tempo game too, depending on how lanes go, right? Because if Sand King does get the early blink and Morphling doesn't get severely pressured, he does do well individually versus these heroes, right?
Right.
And we've seen Nico maybe group up with his team early and pressure towers and not just sit back and farm triangles. That's not really his style of carry.
And you were asking earlier for a high damage offlaner. Sand King does bring that to the table. You have a decent hunting squad with the Lion and the Snapfire as well. It's really just the lanes, it seems like to me, for Alliance. That's the biggest worry.
That's really my biggest concern. If they can make it out of the lanes and if they're even, I think they can actually do a pretty good job of fighting back. As long as they just avoid team fights, be very aware of Dawnbreaker. There's a hero that not everybody's really playing so much, so just be really aware of that global potential.
Well, let's see if T1's coach March agrees with this analysis, and he also thinks that they can take them over. As we go down to Sir Action Selects, who's going to ask him some questions.
Hello, March. Thank you so much for taking time with us. Game's about to begin. Strong opener with Lena Magnus. Saw you took a little bit of time with that last pick. What was going through your head?
We were thinking between a few heroes, the carry heroes that we wanted to pick, right? And yeah, we were trying to just find the best option there.
Don't give away too much, my friend. We still have a whole best of 3. Looks like Alliance's lanes looking a little weak. Do you expect your boys to take advantage of that?
Yeah, I think their lanes are weak, but they have a better late game going in with flanking and morphling. So I think our team wants to take advantage of that.
All right, well, best of luck. We will see if they will as our game begins. Let's throw it to the casters.
Thank you, Sir Action Slacks. Alliance versus T1. Sunsfan with Cinderin, best of 3. And this is for elimination, Cinderin. Whoever loses this is out. Winner moves on a little bit further at TI10.
Into top 8. So
Yes.
obviously, starting in that upper bracket, which T1 did, is the blessing. You skip one round of the lower bracket, but we've seen many times at TI teams looking hot going into the upper bracket. They lose their first set, they drop down, lose again, and that is a fate you really don't want to face. When you feel like you came in a good position, you can get knocked out almost just as quickly if things go awry. So looking to take this series against Alliance, of course. I think fair to say, based on how groups went and how the upper bracket went for T1 against LGD, taking at least a game against the Juggernauts. T1 probably fair to assess them as the overall favorites in this matchup. But Alliance have been picking up a little bit of momentum, obviously going off that win yesterday. And you heard in the pregame the discussion about how, as far as said, they've learned a lot from the group stage. And Alliance is one of those teams that can, they can pick up some momentum. They can learn from their mistakes, and obviously, it is a tough matchup today. But
You think, I mean, when you're playing group stage, not everybody's really scouting each other as closely because you're playing a ton of games and a ton of teams at the same time. But when it gets to this stage, there's a lot of prep that goes in for the specific team. Alliance has a little bit more time to work with, I would say. But T1 obviously coming from upper bracket, they're obviously disappointed that they lost that best of 3, but should be an exciting matchup nonetheless. And of course, Alliance is, I mean, they're the top EU team overall because of, what was it, #1 in each DPC season, like going into the major.
yeah, unfortunately for Alliance, their showings at the actual majors weren't what they had hoped. Just basically just bombed out both times. So obviously for them, they have a lot to prove here. And yeah, the whole thing about prep, I think, is pretty important. If you do talk about Dota with S4, he's a very intelligent player. The way he thinks about the game, I think he's a huge part of why Alliance won back at TI3. Just this overall understanding of macro movements in the game.
Yeah.
Alliance were outstanding in that tournament. It's obviously many years ago, but they kind of, I wouldn't say they pioneered split pushing because that was a concept that was known from back in Dota 1.
They perfected
but
it.
they mastered it at that event, and they did such a great job just playing the map at a different level from other teams that eventually they got caught up to, and then they started losing in subsequent tournaments after TI. But I think S4 really a clever player. So hopefully the prep that he has done going into this will show. But so far so good for T1 in the lanes, I would say. Carl in the mid lane, Lina against Ember. You know, this reminds me of a game we had yesterday. Was it Emo who played Ember against Shadow Fiend from Team Spirit? That was 2 days ago by now. Time flies when you're having fun. But it was the IG versus Team Spirit series in the upper bracket, where Emo got a last pick Ember into a known Shadow Fiend.
Yep.
So picked it into a losing lane, but they assessed that it was still worth it for its overall potential impact on the game, and they did end up winning that game, obviously. Limp in a similar situation here. Lina's a tough matchup. You're not going to win this lane ever if the players are equally matched. And I think Carl against Limp is a pretty fair lane matchup overall in terms of just raw lane mechanical skill. So I would imagine Carl will be pulling ahead here.
Yep, I mean, relatively even to start things out, but of course it is early, like you said. They're going to get each respective water rune. Nico Baby this time around will be playing the Morphling in this bot lane, and we can talk a bit about Dawnbreaker, who gets canceled there. FNG, Shockwave brings him back in, and Zephyr secures the first blood with that last right click.
When you're playing these squishy 5s against Dawnbreaker, you need to be quick on your fingers. You need to be ready for that play to come. As soon as the Celestial Hammer goes out, you have to stun her. Hanskin hesitated for too long there, FNG, not Hanskin. Let's focus on the right player here. Hesitated for too long with that Earth Spike and ended up taking 2 attacks from the Starbreaker.
Yeah.
That needs to get stopped instantly. As soon as the hammer gets thrown, you have to stun, and gets punished there, and Zephyr manages to get first blood. Very good for the Dawnbreaker. We'll be getting boots as a reward. This hero is exceptionally good at chasing down heroes because it's just so strong in lane. So with these freshly picked up boots, look for Zephyr to just go aggressive.
Now he's going to take some damage here, but we've talked about the Dawnbreaker support in the past, and some lineups feel a little iffy as it were, especially as a support. Obviously, she's going to be very good in the laning stage, as we're seeing right now. But this game in particular, there are a lot of stuns that set up her ultimate for the later stage of the game. You have the Nightmare, you have the Fiend's Grip, obviously. LSA is pretty low cooldown, Wraith, Fire Blast as well.
Yep.
And then the huge RP. So literally every hero can theoretically set up the Solar Guardian, which, I mean, I think you and I agree is probably the most important aspect of that hero going mid-game and beyond.
Absolutely. Oh,
Top lane,
White
Whitemon going to get caught out, takes a considerable amount of damage, but
Plenty of
will
sticks.
live through it. Nightmare into the Wraith Fire Blast now is 23 Savage, blocking S4. He will be able to walk away as those little skelly buddies are chasing him.
The boys, as we call them.
The boys. I think that's copyrighted by a TV show, Sindrin.
Oh.
Can't say that.
Okay. Well, hopefully they're not watching that. There's probably not that much overlap between the writers of that TV show and TI, but you never know.
You never know.
You get surprised sometimes with where people's interests lie. So,
especially you.
yeah, I guess. I don't know what that was supposed to mean.
Because you have no interest. That was the
Ah,
joke. Zephyr makes his way to the top lane. Wraith Fire Blast into the Starbreaker. The Burrow Strike is there in time
There's
for
the
S4.
hammer.
But he's going to take so much damage from that hammer.
I think one saving grace for Alliance here against the Dawnbreaker ult, like we talked about. Yes, you have a lot of good combos with it, but it's not a good Ags game at the very least. There's no hero in
That's
Alliance
true.
that really suffers against that 60% evasion. Morphling a lot of the time can, you know, go for more of a magic-based build with the E-Blade. And I think waveform, attack talent, and all this stuff that comes way later in the game, I think can't miss, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually not 100% on that. Good waveform bottom. Aggressive play out to
Looks like
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo might take a tumble here. Has his skewer available, but is just completely stun locked by Alliance, who get their first kill of the game and this series.
Yeah, they can easily take advantage of that. With the Dawnbreaker rotation top, they know they're 2v1. Lion, one of the best supports in the game, 2v1. Not that good 2v2, especially as a 5, but whenever you outnumber, you just have so much lockdown for your carry to just go to town. They do kill Cuckoo's mag, so he has still managed to almost find level 5 down here, so I don't think Cuckoo is too concerned. The game plan is coming along nicely. Lina and Wraith King are having total free games, basically. So, not the biggest of deals, but obviously Alliance will take what they can get in these lanes.
Now Whitemon not able to secure the rune. Limp will still get that invisibility. As looking at the overall CS here, let me bring it up real quick. Wraith King sitting at 38 and 10 versus the 33 and 8 of the Morphling, so relatively even. Of course, 23 Savage will eventually go into the jungle. This is the thing I like about Wraith King as a position 1. It kind of creates space for some, like a position for like Dawnbreaker theoretically to get some farm once he enters that jungle.
Yeah.
Semi-full time, if that's even a word. We'll just go with
Full time. That's called part-time, I believe.
Part-time job as S4 gets the Burrow Strike off. Whitemon taking some damage, but the Cookie ends up saving S4 for about 2 seconds, but Zephyr is there to clean up yet again.
Gets
Seems
a
to be
little-
everywhere, and he doesn't even have his ult yet.
No, he has a lot of freedom to move. Cuckoo's doing such a good job playing alone down here. He's almost level 6, so you don't even feel bad about this if you're Zephyr. Might even end up killing Hanskin here if Limp doesn't come over to help.
He's going for it. Limp
Has
in
the
the area.
hammer.
And not going to pursue any further. Cuckoo getting some mana drained here. Has to skewer out to safety. That means he's completely depleted.
Surely Zephyr doesn't do this, right? Okay. It almost looked like he was going to try to
Gonna
dive him in
fountain
the
dive him?
base.
It's 7 minutes. Yeah.
Learned from Cuckoo from yesterday. Just go for it, and then if you fail, you just write, we need wards. So
That's true.
he did have a ward
That is the
himself,
play.
though,
Oh,
so
Earth
can't-
Spike into the waveform. Cuckoo looks to be done again. So 2 kills in this lane for Alliance.
Yeah.
Nico Baby and company starting to get back into this game, which, I mean, it's not like it's out of reach by any means, but T1 definitely off to a slightly better start right now.
And Nico claiming that is very, very good for his economy. 250 extra gold here. Getting the treads flown out now. Very curious to see what build he goes for, right? Because as the draft panel pointed out, there are some aspects of this game that can be dangerous to Morphling. So you could maybe see him go for something like a Lincoln Sphere against Bane, which isn't necessarily ideal. Okay, FNG in trouble.
Starbreaker not
Good
going to
mech,
fully
though.
connect on FNG. Limp gets the nice cookie, stun, and the regen rune, and Carl just getting kited around. Another kill goes the way of Alliance, as FNG taking some harassment, but looks like he will live through the day thanks to the support of the rest of his team.
Yeah, great rotation there. Bringing Hanskin was crucial to killing off the Lina. They're going to smoke here in full vision, though. So T1 definitely know that this is happening. Let's see if they guess the right move, though. FNG mana burning here. Zephyr's going to walk right into him.
Yeah, the fact that Zephyr is level 4 despite being involved in so many kills is kind of weird, actually. Feels like he should be a higher level right now, but
He hasn't taken much lane. That's what you trade off when you leave the off lane, right? It's that you give the Magnus the solo experience, and while kills are nice, if you don't soak up any lane space, you don't progress, right? So I think now that Zephyr is showing mid, he might even sit here all the way until level 6, because Bane will need the tome in this game. So might just park him here. As you pointed out, top lane is also an option. You could just put the Dawnbreaker in the safe lane, put Wraith King into the jungle. But this way you might get... You're definitely going to get more gold on Wraith King if you let him take the lane and the big camp. But S4 making sure that is not the case here. Digging that up with a bounty, getting a bounty rune out of his good old shovel. He's
the
going to
dust
adjust
from
it.
Whitemon with a quick burrow strike. There's the stun from Zephyr. And S4 looks to be mega dead here. Actually does a nice job of sidestepping the Starbreaker, but it just delays the inevitable here.
And keep in mind, this is a Sand King with Vanguard against the Wraith King skeletons, and he still dies. So you can't really be tankier than this at this point as Sand King with Soul Ring Vanguard, but it's just not enough against these 3 heroes. Alliance looking a little bit lost over here in the triangle, I gotta say. They've been standing here for quite a long time, and they're just on top of a ward, so essentially kind of wasting their time. They obviously don't know this, but T1 are just not gonna go there. And you understand what Alliance are thinking. You're playing against a lineup that has Magnus Wraith King. You're assuming there's gonna be big Ancient stacks, but T1 honestly haven't really paid much attention to that area just yet, so... I don't know if this is going to be something we see developing as like a new meta almost, where teams, because of the anticipation that the opposite team are going to invade your triangle, you just don't focus on it that much early unless you feel like you can clearly defend it, and you just
like
don't
the next
stack.
level thinking, essentially.
Right, then you
Nightmare,
can't steal
LSA, here comes the Solar Guardian as well, but S4 able to get the burrow strike off in time to at least create a little bit of distance, but again, completely outnumbered with 4 members of T1 in the vicinity.
He is now 0-4. It was what Fog was talking about. This happens in a lot of games for offlane Sand King, especially if he's left alone. And now, finally, all right, FNG, I think, took the Tome of Knowledge, so he's going to make a move with Limp. They have Finger of Death. Could very easily burst anyone they find, except Wraith King, who can, of course, put a point in the ultimate. They will find Carl. That would be a very big pick.
Yeah, this would be a huge one. It looks like it's going to be an easy one on top of that. FNG gets his first finger stack of the game. Now some pressure being applied to this tier 1 mid in favor of Alliance.
Great move here. They do that in connection with the Siege Creep being alive mid, and FNG is going to tank this at least for a bit. Okay, Mortimer kisses.
Searing Chains with the Mortimer's kisses. Look, oh, it's from super long range. Great anticipation as well. Alliance.
Very,
the tier 1
nice
as well.
From Alliance, yeah, getting the mid tower out of that original smoke move onto the Lina. That's a very high value play. More or less equalizing the game with that, actually. They were starting to fall 2k gold behind, but found a lot out of that. And of course, let's keep in mind, Nico Baby is getting a lot of space as well. Opting to go for first item Skadi here. Interesting choice.
Wow,
obviously.
first item. Well, after Morbid Mask, but that's... I don't know if I've ever seen that, actually.
It's not the most common build. A lot of the times you see Morph getting some sort of a build-up item, like sometimes you get Yasha, sometimes you get a full Manta, sometimes you see the Diffusal if it's a good game for that.
Super good Scotty game against Wraith King and Dawnbreaker and the likes, as Bane's going to be taken out.
Oh
FNG, though,
God,
Savage.
Yep.
3 shots from him.
I love Armlet on Wraith King. It is such a good item. Whether, like, whatever you go after, if it's the Silver Edge build or the Deso, or I guess in some edge cases Radiance, I really like the Armlet first. You just hit such a strong peak already 10 minutes in with these 2 items. You saw him basically 2-shotting Lion there with that massive crit. 270% critical strike damage on a 4-second cooldown is no joke.
That's the old CK skill, too. They kind of swapped.
Yeah.
Poor CK. I guess people are more have an affinity towards Wraith King more than CK these days, anyway.
Yeah. Well, what they did do for CK, though, they increased the chance, right? I think at some point the critical strike was 11% chance, now it's 33, and the numbers were obviously tweaked.
11? Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure it used to be that. It's a long time
11?
ago. We're both old.
I'm going to say 18, just
okay, so here's one of the perks of being old, okay? You have a lot of things you can remember. You also have a lot of things you can't remember, and a lot of things you might misremember, which makes for great conversation, because sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but at the very least, people are talking.
Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, and you're always an idiot as well.
Yeah,
so.
that is true. That comes with getting older.
Indeed. My bottom lane, tier 1 tower getting harassed a bit here. as Limp and company
This could be a strong
in
flank
the area.
for
Yeah, we're seeing a
T1.
flank now from T1. 23 Savage.
Someone's in trouble.
Handskin in the trees. If they can get Limp, that'll be the high priority target. Looks like it'll be Handskin instead. The rest of his team abandons him, but with good reason.
Alliance dipping there with 1 death is very good. Considering what angle T1 got there and how Alliance's heroes were positioned, that could have gone way worse if 23 Savage could have found a higher priority target.
Question is, does T1 actually want to push this? Because S4 looks to be mounting some sort of a defense. S4 not too far away from a Blink Dagger himself. This wave will almost ensure that he picks that up, in fact. And with that, likely to try to get something started. And of course, this is the beauty of Zephyr, like you talked about so many times. Or I should say, Dawnbreaker.
One time.
Well, we know we've talked about this.
Actually, twice. I did
We've
talk
had
about
a
it
couple
twice.
games here.
See, that's one of the perks of being old. You can just make, you know, was
Where
it once
am
or
I?
twice? I don't know. You talked about it a lot, you know.
Anyway, to finish the thought that you rudely interrupted,
Sorry.
Solar Guardian just allows you to be everywhere. It's like a mini haunt.
Oh, not this
It's like
again.
a haunt on a support hero. You can push the lanes really easily and then join the fight whenever.
Yep.
And if you die, it's really not that big of a deal.
All right, so if you're confused about what he just said, the point he's making is it's a global ability, okay? That was the point of the haunt. It has nothing else in
Thank
common
you,
with that
Synderen.
ability.
I really appreciate
It is
that.
global.
Kuko, he's going to skewer as a fish. Will be out as a result. S4 has the Burrow Strike to cancel the TP, and Hanskin and company should be able to clean up Bane pretty easily. It actually reminds me,
their
Synderen,
mid-tower, though.
the extension was updated today with a bunch of new features, one of which was the most, community out, well, what am I trying to say? The one that people wanted the most, which is the top bar has the skills videos as well.
Very
So
nice.
if you don't understand a word that we're trying to actually explain in terms of the abilities, you can look for yourself. Makes our job a lot easier. Also takes
eventually
over our
in the
job to
future
some
we won't
degree.
need to say anything. It will just be, all of it will be in the tool.
That's right.
The tool
It'll
will just start communicating as well.
I
It
think we
will,
can
it will
get to that
cast
point.
for us.
Yeah, the AI will take over one
Yep.
day. I think we agree on this. You could be the leader of that. S4 pushing out that bot lane. As you can see the steering chains here. I don't think that Alliance wants to push 2K network lead for T1 though. As looks like BKB just about to be finished on Carl.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the go time for each respective team? Because we had the Blink Dagger on S4. We don't have the Blink quite yet on Kuku. He went for the Helm, which we've been seeing a lot in this tournament.
Like you said, the dagger is coming out to Magnus.
Okay, it's on its way.
He
Great.
does have the dagger.
But what's the go time?
T1's timing is really, really strong right now, actually. They got Dagger, BKB, as well as the Deso on Wraith King. So there are a lot of potential plays opening up for them right now. I think looking for the bottom tier 1 tower and maybe even finding a fight would be great, and then you can think about Roshan, perhaps. Wraith King, pretty good hero at killing Rosh.
Yeah.
So, especially with this item build. Alliance, what do they have coming up? So Morph is going to get the Scotty.
Yep, skewer back from Kuku.
Oh, he's dead.
Continue your thought, please.
Nice.
Yep, so Scotty coming up on Morph. Ember is going Kaya Sanj with brown boots. Not sure how good that's going to be in this game for Limp, but obviously he is very far behind the Lina, so perhaps you just need to get a little bit creative with which direction you go in. And those are pretty much the big items. F&G only 300 away from a blink, as a matter of fact, so maybe he can get that too. As 5 Lion, that's not a bad timing.
No.
Around 18 minutes, pretty good.
It looks like T1 will finally get this tier 1 bot. And
Oh, Nico
Alliance-
baby.
Oh, LSA
They have a
is
lot
going
of
to
burst.
connect. There's a Fiend's Grip from afar as well. Laguna Blade finishes off Nico baby. Hanskin trying to take out the tower, but it's very healthy.
For lack of a better word, that seemed a bit naive, almost. It's obvious from our perspective with the vision that we have, but you're pushing the top tier 1 tower with only Snapfire protecting you, not something like a Blink Sand King that can instantly interrupt spells like Grip Clear or counter the Lina. But also T1 weren't really showing that many heroes to inspire you with the confidence to go for that play, so I think Alliance bit over a little bit more than they could chew there. And yeah, what did T1 effectively use? Only really Fiend's Grip. Laguna Blade is a low cooldown. That's going to be ready again. They still have RP. I think if you're T1 and you find this double damage rune here, you're like, all right, let's just go Roche.
Yep.
Your team fight is available. So,
And we're going to have a smoke from Alliance. We'll see if they find a kill here. Sleight of Fist is going to dodge some spells from Carl.
Oh
The
my
23
God.
Savage jumps in, and it's going to be a very quick kill on the Hanskin. In the meantime, Epicenter goes up, but there's the RP to counter it. And T1 taking 3 kills for themselves and taking basically no damage in this engagement.
Yeah, 23 Savage almost one-shot a Snapfire with Medallion.
Double damage as
Oh,
well.
they even find Nico,
Nightmare.
baby.
Does get off the attribute shift though, and wow. Yep, double damage still there for 23 Savage, and into the Roach Pit they go. T1 starting to run away with things.
Yeah, this is starting to get really ugly. They're just flat out outclassing Alliance right now. These last 5 minutes have not been pretty. They kind of equalized the early game Alliance did after having a tough lane mid, but haven't really been able to find much momentum from Limp on the Emperor Spirit. And the games we've seen Emperor win in this tournament have largely been off, you know, you get out of lane, either you do very well or you at least stay afloat, and then the team sets up moves for you. Your hero is very high tempo, can do a lot, but it just hasn't really been the case for Alliance here. So you see the smoke and broken, rather.
Boom.
Not broke, that's just... Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
They even find Limp bottom here in the picture-in-picture bottom right. Not sure if our observer found Limp, but
his dead body somewhere.
we can pinpoint the position of the corpse.
I mean,
in
he's
that bottom
specifically
lane.
having a pretty rough game. 8K net worth versus the 10.5 from Lena.
Oh, Hanskin. Good ward placement. He will get some info and actually survive this, perhaps. It's going on quite the walk.
Yep, LSA, Carl trying to find some more. TPs from Alliance are coming in, but the double burrow strike S4. BKB popped by Carl, though, and FNG is just going to go down to the right clicks. Nico, baby, trying to find some sort of collateral kill here. Whitemon's just going to nightmare him, and 23 Savage in the vicinity, completely surrounded as Nico, baby. And 4 dead for Alliance, although technically Ember died quite a while before that. Hanskin, the last remaining member for now, attempting to TP. We'll be fine. And T1 just dominating this game number 1 of this best of 3. And again, if you're just joining us, this is an elimination series.
Yeah, crucial there, right? They go for the tower dive, S4 with a very good TP and Sandstorm double stun, but where's the follow-up? The other heroes just aren't in position. The way this starts is as a 10-second dive on Snapfire. They're taking so long to get in behind the tower and in position. You need more resources there. Like, if you want to take this fight, you need all the key heroes ready. You know you're behind in the game. You're not going to win fights 3v5. So either you bring the whole cavalry or you just drop it and lose a hero there. But Alliance tried to do a bit of both, and that's just not going to cut it at this level. And T1 there doing a great job at administering their heroes, bringing them all around together, finding the team moves. And, I mean, it's easy to say what Alliance have to do. It's a lot harder to do it.
Yeah, as you can see, the win probability greatly in favor of T1 as expected after getting off to this really, really fast start.
Yeah. Gabe Newell's favorite hero used to be Sand King, as we've talked about before.
That is true.
That's
the 6%.
He moved on from it, right?
Oh, okay. 23
okay.
Savage. Yep, easy kill for him again.
Oh, they will find
all right, that
Carl,
is a big
though.
kill for Alliance onto Carl. That's exactly what they need here. But unfortunately for them, 23 Savage still applying pressure to the tier 2 mid.
Yeah, it's gone.
And it's just going to go down. Aegis hasn't even been claimed yet. Oh wait. Yeah, it has.
This item on Wraith King is so good, Brigand's Blade, the neutral, because your first hit does so much damage that you immediately get into the threshold where it starts mattering really quickly. Crazy good. Okay, trivia.
Huskar.
Trivia.
Huskar's the answer.
Trivia after this fight.
All right, we got. Oh, that's not much of a fight. FNG's dead. Nico baby waveforming to safety. 23 Savage and company not going to pursue any further.
You sure about that?
Whitemon, okay, he gets a Fiend's Grip off. This will be another big kill for T1. Nope, Starbreaker not able to connect. He's going to be able to remnant it away for now. Escort taking so much damage will just be brought down to the right clicks alone. Whitemon finally dies. Such a pesky Bane Elemental. And Alliance getting some trades here.
Yeah, that's pretty good for Alliance given the circumstances. So you get a kill. Nico Baby gets 2, actually. He gets Cuckoo as well as Whitemon, so it's going to make some item progression here.
Yep.
Eyeing up a Linken's, this doesn't feel like a very strong build to me, just because, like, you're going to have these stats, but you don't have that massive combo play with, say, a Sand King when you go Ags, or some massive damage output from an E-Blade. So I'm just worried that the damage isn't going to be there when T1's heroes get a little bit bigger. That's going to be my main concern.
Is this one of those instances where when you're behind, you want to take more risks to try to get back into the game, and going Lincolns just feels too safe almost.
It's the thing, you know, I love to say this, you're playing not to lose rather than playing to win. And playing not to lose in this day and age in Dota rarely works in my experience. If you're behind, you need to go for let's say you have 15% chance of winning with a play, right? If it's the best chance you have, you take it even though the odds are terrible. Because the alternative is even worse, which is you don't go for it and then you just lose by default. And that is something I think, you know, not that we're going to be talking a lot about public games or anything, but I think that's a mentality that people are not particularly good at adapting to in their public games, is that if you're far behind, hiding away is not a winning strategy, pretty much ever, unless the enemy team is going to throw in your base.
Which happens.
I guess it depends on the level of play, right? It happens more often in
pubs than in pro play, though, right? So
it depends on the level of play, of course, but yeah, sometimes you just got to take the risk, even if the odds aren't good. Carl will be spotted up by S4. Well, who found who, actually?
Yeah, that's a good question. FNG jumps in. Comes a Solar Guardian, though, and just like that, T1 is here in numbers. FNG sacrificing himself to the gods here as S4 gets horn tossed and likely will be brought down next. So 2 quick kills for T1. And Alliance attempting to get out of dodge, but Hanskin gonna get spotted out. 23 Savage. Yeah, his arm length is apparently goes through Fog of War.
All right, here's my trivia. If you know this, what is something you would really want me to give you if you're right? I'm very confident you don't know this.
Okay, a Snickers.
A Snickers. Okay, if you're right, you'll get. All right, that's some free product placement right there.
True. I'll get you a noble.
What is the name of the passive of Brigand's Blade?
The passive?
Yeah, the effect that it
There's
has.
no way. It's like something Mercy.
It's called Dark Mercy. That was pretty.
Yeah, I remember reading it. I couldn't remember the first word.
No idea. That's pretty good. You can get half a bar for that.
Right,
that's pretty impressive.
Are you going to eat the first?
If
I
that
don't
gets
want
you
that.
all excited, I will do it. I will do that for you. I'm a good friend.
So you say.
That's actually a Jenkins quote. Let's pretend I never said that.
True. So T1, yeah, this is shellacking for sure so far. Question is, what can Alliance do? They're going for that safe build on Nico Bay with the Lincoln Sphere. And really limp his build. It feels like, I mean, he has the BKB, which is really needed. The casual Sage, Maelstrom helps you farm, but
Nico is queuing up a Satanic next.
Really?
Again, it's I'm just worried about the damage, right? Like Ember went Sanj into BKB.
Well, I think, no, he's still going Lincolns, though, right? He has the ultimate orb, and
he's queued it as his next quick buy, which usually when pro players do that, it's like, okay, the thought process is there, right? You're like, okay, this is the next thing I want. I think looking at Alliance's lineup, there's still a lot of value to an E-Blade, just because if you get a Blink Hex from Lion onto, say, Lina, you can actually burst someone instantly with all of the magic damage you have, but you're not really taking advantage of it. The downside to that kind of build is, well, where's your physical component in a lineup that's almost purely magical? So then that would be a problem. But this way you have neither, kind of, right? Yeah. The Morphling can play to survive, but he's not really going to kill, I think. So worrying here for Alliance, but of course, if they do win one fight because Morph survives and turns it around, then maybe they can find.
Quick hex. S4. No, not going to go for the Epi.
Yeah. Good damage onto 23 Savage, but one of the great boons to Wraith King is this lifesteal. So 2 hits on the wave heals a lot.
Nico Baby now with the Lincolns online. And yeah, a lot of, I mean, I guess not a lot. There's a decent amount of single target skills from T1 to take that off. But from Bane, it just takes so long to cast, right? Even in Feeble, it's a bit of a process, and especially against something like Morph. I can see the thought process for sure.
The cast point of Enfeeble is actually not that bad.
Did they? I guess they've changed that skill so much.
Yeah, I think it's a while ago that got changed, but it's always been considered a good Lincoln's Breaker skill just because it's high cast range and it's such a, I don't want to say unimportant spell, but you know what I mean, right? You're not throwing away your Nightmare to break a Lincoln so you don't have it defensively. This is one of the best spells in the game, in my opinion, against Lincoln. So all Whitemon needs to do is have good positioning, break the Lincolns with the Enfeeble, and then he can look for Fiend Script or Nightmare, whatever he wants to do on that Morph. All right, Burrow Strike.
S4, 23 Savage.
They are poking him quite well here.
Nice armlet toggle for now. He has the Deso going for the AC next.
Very close.
He will live.
Good out.
Of course, he does have 2 lives, so it'll be difficult to take him out regardless.
All right, Sunsven, trivia.
Oh boy.
For the second half of your Mar. What is the passive of Dragon Scale?
That I have no idea. Let's say armor.
know, based on some of the naming conventions we've had recently, that's not a bad guess. It is called Afterburn.
Yeah, I would not. That sounds like a shaving product almost. As we have Alliance.
Do you want to advertise some more things here? What's the plan?
Not ready to go out quite yet. Cinderin is Alliance trying to do something here against T1, but the longer they wait, the more the deficit becomes, it seems. And Limp will just be TPing out for now, but has a Remnant available to come back into the fight if he wants.
That is a tanky courier. 23 Savage will get his Elven Tunic.
Yeah, and completed
What is
AC.
the passive of Elven Tunic?
I don't look at...
It doesn't have one. It was a
Okay.
trick question.
Oh, technically it does have
has
a passive.
3 passives,
Yeah.
but no name.
No names. Yeah.
All right.
Understood.
Dewarding here. 23.
Oh my God!
Woo!
Holy
See you later.
jeez! Gaben, Lord Almighty,
Literal one-shot.
FNG. That hurt me.
You know, you're used to expecting this out of a PA in this stage of the game, but Wraith King essentially right now, that is the Wraith King version of one dagger and I'm die.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just
29 minutes PA.
literal one shot.
I don't expect that still. Maybe 39.
With Mag on the team and a Deso? I don't know. I think I would kind of expect that.
Okay. Well.
We have different levels of expectancy. I guess the PAs in your game don't have the same items at minute 29.
That's right.
as these players
Cinderin
do.
S4 trying to mount some sort of a defense here, but this is with the
Dustful
Aegis
miss.
online for Carl. Obviously, Wraith King doesn't need one. Although we do see them take it relatively often, but I like to see it on the Lina this game. Considerable amount of damage done to that tier 3 top,
Yeah.
and T1 going to reset.
Carl hits really hard with this Empower. I think in a way it's still underappreciated when we commentate Empower. We are always focused on the melee heroes that get cleaves, so they can farm Ancients, etc. But having any hero that just attacks a lot inherently just gives Empower value, even if it's ranged, right? Alina has insane attack speed, so she's probably one of the best Empower heroes in the meta right now, actually better than some melee heroes. Oh my god, he
Oh
found
boy,
Limp.
the hack.
Look at the damage.
LSA's not going to hit though. Carl,
Oh!
one of the few mistakes from T1 this game. Pretty much a masterful performance thus far.
Well,
But they won't sweat it, I'm sure, as this lead is
the chat wheel game is on point. No mistake there. Playing the sad trombone is very appropriate there.
Yeah, oh, we got the horn toss with the skewer into the RP. S4 is going to be the first to fall in all likelihood. Nico Baby staying alive at half. We'll get up to safety. So just one kill with that RP, but Carl Pasta BKB gets the LSA with a buyback onto S4 now. Starbreaker connect. Here comes a Solar Guardian as well. Nico Baby, very tanky right now with that Lincoln Sphere. Nice Burrow Strike Epicenter combination from S4. He's ever trying to get to safety with that hammer, but it's not going to happen. So the 1-for-1 with the buyback. Carl and company. Looks like they're going to lose the Dawnbreaker at the very least. S4 continuing to be a pest here with these Burrow Strikes. Gets one kill. Looks like Wraith King is next. That's after the reincarnation, so T1 have to back off.
That's a very
Nice
good
defense
hold
from Alliance.
Yeah, they only had to use a Sand King buyback and all of that. Arguably, maybe, you know, Carl getting a little bit overzealous trying to kill the Morph. As we've talked about, it's a tanky Morphling, and you don't necessarily have to kill Nico Baby in a position like that. You can safely, you know, go for other heroes that die a lot faster or try to push the tower, but got a little bit bloodthirsty. You can get carried away in these positions, and again, this RP is good, but great counterplay from Hanskin to get that double Earth Spike. Lina didn't pre-BKB for this. And that will save Nico Baby getting him out. I mean, this is where the overcommitment happens, right? So you go for this, go very, very deep. Solar Guardian, I believe, got interrupted here by another good 2-hero stun from FNG. And now you're just in a really compromised position. Limp also
not only
doing tons
is
of damage here.
Morphling tanky, but it's not really doing that much damage. It's not like he went the E-Blade build or anything like that, so you can just go for the other kills.
And now Nico has the item I like to see. He's got the Axe. So
Yeah.
now he can turn into Sand King, and that's big. This gives them a double Burrow Strike combination play.
Yep.
He needs to be careful. He's taking so much damage from
He
Carl.
is, but looks like he's fine for now. Is Limp creating a lot of space here with the Laguna Blade. S4 a little bit too far this time.
Yeah, and he doesn't have buyback, and T1 obviously know this. They just bought back in the enemy base, so this does open up a potential push down mid
and that
play for
actually
them.
is pretty big because Morphling can't turn into Sand
Carl
King now.
found Limp with a
Yep.
blink stun.
The Centaur
Nope.
stomp not
He
going
has
to be
no
there in time.
remnants.
Limp,
He's
BKB
dead.
attempting to TP, but the RP cancel. Down he goes. Does have buyback though. Still a minute 20 left on the Aegis for T1. But best case scenario for Alliance, this is a 5 versus 4 once this buyback comes out. But like I said, Morphling can't turn into Sand King for another 40 seconds, so this Ag, like, Snapfire could be good later in the game. I don't even know. Do the talents even Does that work through talents once you get the little shredder thing? As this Rax is going to be a complete freebie
These
for
go
T1.
so fast. Like, Lena is just an absolute artillery. That's not really the right word. Machine gun was what I was looking for. Going
A
straight in for
trebuchet,
the
Cinder, and your favorite. Carl,
That's good.
Laguna Blade, down goes Snapfire. They're trying to preserve the buyback. Nope, not anymore. That's 2 right off the bat here. And you can see S4 will be back in 10 seconds, but it's going to be 2 full sets of racks for T1.
Yeah, and they might back off here and wait for the next RP. You don't have to risk any push here in order to finish the game. If you wait 50 seconds, you might feel like it's pretty much in the bag. Gaben giving Alliance 1% here.
Okay.
Very gracious.
I mean, to be fair, S4 in that original high ground defense did a really
now
good
Gaben
job.
gives them 0. He's had enough.
Oh, boy.
You started talking about Sandking, and Gaben was like, I don't like this hero anymore, so
Oh,
there
no.
goes your last percent. Thanks,
Very
fan. You
sad.
ruin everything you touch, don't you?
That's true.
Yeah.
Aegis is now
Kind of like
claimed.
Kyle with predictions.
Yeah, that's actually an uncanny skill that
That
he
is-
has.
That's pretty impressive.
And now T1 looking to finish this game, although no Aegis to work with now, and Alliance obviously know that, and this is going to be their best chance to win a fight. Look for Nico Baby to morph into
All right.
S4 soon.
I bet Kyle, I challenge you, Kyle, to tweet right now. T1 has this in the bag.
Yeah.
Let's see how strong the curse is. If you do that and T1 end up losing, you will get a candy bar of your choice
of
from me.
your choice.
Mhm.
Wow. He
There
might
are
not
some
have
pretty,
time
probably
to
some
actually
pretty
take out
delicious
his
and
phone.
maybe quite exquisite and expensive candy bars out there if you know where to look. So it's a lot to gain here for Kyle, and no risk even.
That's true. Well, the risk is ruining his image of getting everything wrong.
That's true. That's actually pretty valuable to him, I think.
I think so too. He's really enjoying that.
Yep. Has to be fun.
T1 looks like they're ready to go and trying to finish this game. S4 wants to defend. We'll see how much they have in the tank here. T1 going to be happy with the tier 3. We'll back and reset.
Roche can respawn in 2 minutes. If you want to, you can wait for this.
I can't blame them. I mean, this is
High stakes.
TI10, lower bracket. Another shout out. You can actually check the bracket right now. That's a new addition to the extension. If you go to the standings, it shows the full bracket. Very nicely done.
Okay, Sunsfan, I have a trivia for you.
Oh boy.
What is the passive
Enough with these passives.
of Mindbreaker called? I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
You like very simple names.
Silence.
That's the first word. What is the second word?
Is it silent something?
Yes.
Silent strike.
Silence strike. Okay, you get your
Oh,
full mark. That's a really
all
good
right.
guess.
Thank you.
All right.
Beautiful.
Definitely didn't look over my shoulder there and
No,
cheated
I-
the test.
I would never do that.
No, you actually didn't, did you? I trust you.
Why would I?
You have so much to gain from this.
No, I'd like to look like an
Your
idiot,
image.
actually.
Oh, that's true. You and Kyle should start a team.
Maybe we should start a new podcast together. Might be an opening pretty soon. Is 31K net worth lead for T1. And definitely playing a little bit disciplined. Cuckoo.
horn toss.
Yep, horn toss is there, and S4 is dead. 60 seconds on the deck.
That skewer range
No
talent
buyback.
is so absurd. Like, you're expecting that skewer to stop any second now, and it just keeps going.
Yeah. I mean, this feels like, I mean, you talk about Elder Titan. I feel like Magnus feels like the hero of the tournament right now in a lot of ways.
He is doing very
Getting
well.
through a lot. As you see the
my
overwhelming blink
God.
come in. We didn't even catch that on camera, but a lot of damage being done by T1. And it looks like the Fiend's grip is there as GG's will come out for game 1. This was a shellacking, Cinderin.
Yep.
T1 up 1-0.
As no need to sugarcoat it, really. That was just... That was not even close.
Okay.
That was just not even close. T1 came out of a stronger laning stage. Alliance had a couple of good moves in the first 10 minutes, but after that it was just all T1 all the way to the bank. And they secure themselves game number 1 with a 39k gold lead here. Alliance, I think adjustments for game number 2, you probably, if you're drafting like this and you give the enemy team Magnus and you give them like this strong team fight and a favorable mid matchup, you have to play around Limp more. Like, this needs to go faster. Or you need to take a different approach to the draft entirely where you feel confident just taking time for yourself. It was just T1 dictating everything in that game and just doesn't cut it. You need to challenge them. You need to get... this is what's most important at this level of play. Don't let the enemy team be comfortable, right? And they were just comfortable the whole time. T1 just looked in their element the whole game.
Well, still, just one game. They can try to shake this off. They have a lot of experience, of course, but This is a best of 3, Cinderman, but let's see what the panel has to say about this first game going to T1.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see Cinder and also rocking the maroon hashtag Team Merlot. But we've got to start by seeing if you guys agree with our lovely casters there. Do you think Alliance played well in the first 10 minutes, Owen?
I mean, it was better than the other minutes of the game. So, relatively sure. But, I mean, overall, it was what I expected. And it was more so what I expected when they let them get this Magnus and Lina. I mean, I don't know how you can expect to beat T1 on the main stage when you let them have these 2 heroes, which have clearly been their best heroes so far of the tournament. I guess they wanted an impossible challenge. They certainly got it that game.
They did talk about the reason they beat Beast Coast as being their preparation and not feeling any pressure. So why on earth wouldn't they ban that Magnus after watching LGD yesterday?
There's just too many heroes that you need to be banning. Maybe that's the thing, right? Like versus Zephyr, you need to ban out that ET earlier that every single team is banning or picking. Then you have the Doom. Then you have the 23 Savage Medusa. There's just too many components here that they're thinking of. Maybe they thought, okay, this is probably the easiest for us to beat. It's also their comfort zone. We can't ban everything out, so let's give them the Mag and the Lina and try to work with it. It didn't work out.
But they did seem unprepared, because even going into their first picks, they were using reserve time. That was a huge shock to me. You come into a best of 3 in game 1 particularly, where you've had, the entire night to prepare. You should know exactly what you're going to be picking in that first phase based on your opponent, because they knew they were going to leave the Magnus. They had to have had a game plan for a first pick Magnus, and they went in reserve time for 2 picks.
Yeah, and we were talking about S4 having these marvelous games. Sometimes this definitely wasn't one of those. Maybe he was micromanaging the team a little bit too much, and they weren't helping him. I feel like, yeah, you need to activate Limp, you need to help out your mid laner, but as well, your Sand King can't be 111. Your Sand King can be completely stomped in the laning stage, because who will make any plays for your side then?
Well, looking at the draft, do you think that Sand King was ever part of the plan?
Maybe not plan A. I mean, I think not many. There are some teams last pick and they were offlaner, but it felt like when they got to his pick, there was not much left that was going to fit the game for him. And I think this game really highlighted, why most teams don't have their kind of shot caller, their captain playing the offlane role, because it is really hard to do both when you're a core player, winning your lane as well as trying to lead your team.
And also quite shocking for T1. That could have been the fastest game they've actually played here at the main event of TI. We should probably see if we can get our stats guy Leo on that one, because I'd be really interested to know. Do you think the pace was simply because T1 just had the confidence, they knew they had it in the bag, or because there was a risk of Alliance actually being able to scale up and take back the tempo, Owen?
I mean, maybe if the game went... I mean, I don't know. Sure, they had a more fun Alliance, but they were just so far behind. I don't know if any amount of duration of that game would have made things any better for them. Like, they were just so far behind. I think T1, they're happy to play the game at any stage. We just see sort of that high ground push where things started to go, they were 23k up, so they're pretty comfortable. T1 obviously resetting, and then they sort of did what they've done in a lot of the other games that we've seen here, really. A team that's very, very safe, and they make sure not to throw games away. There was just that little bit of a premature push down the mid, but other than that, they were ready to fall back to the same way they've won a lot of their games, which is just sort of stall it out, get this incredible lead, and get to the point where there's just no chance for the enemy.
You can imagine what they were going for, right? With the Sand King and the Morphling, there is synergy there. It's not like Sand King it was something completely unprepared. You have the Aghanims on the Morphling, then Sand King, double stuns, double Sandstorms. It can be really difficult to deal with, but they got there way too late. I think they let the Wraith King ramp up way too fast. Armlet, Dezo, and Blink Dagger.
That's great.
Yeah, it was just all in fights. Just go straight, no Radiance, no shenanigans, no farming, just fight constantly. And it worked out for T1.
I was going to say, what did we like about 23 Savage's Wraith King? I mean, what was there not to like, to be fair?
Well, yeah, it was everything. It was none of this. I think we saw Wraith King in the group stage. I can't remember which team played it, but it was like Midas, Radiance, farming. And I mean, this game, 23 Savage, he goes to prove you get these items, you fight, and you're making just as much money as the Wraith King that's going to go AFK and just hit creeps all game and then inevitably lose the game, because the hero just doesn't feel that good when it's played in that sort of Midas, Radiance, AFK way. You want to do exactly what 23 Savage did here. I was a little hesitant when I saw the pick come up last, because I was worried that, maybe they're going to do that. But then, of course, it's like, no, it's T1. They're going to fight. They're going to brawl. They're going to get him involved at every possible moment. And we saw him one-shotting heroes. Poor old Bob's FNG or something just disappears underneath the blade of him. I mean, he was having a great time. And I think that's awesome to see, T1 bringing out these sort of carries that aren't necessarily the top carries of the meta and just showing how strong and confident they are. It just goes to show we've not seen everything that T1's ready to show on the main stage. They've definitely got lots up their sleeve.
I've now got a new mantra to play in Grave King. Why waddle when you can blink? Why did Purge never teach me that before when I was trying to play Grave King and I was complaining about how slow his animation is when trying to get last hits? Do you think actually now we're going to see more Grave King, now that 23 Savage has showed it could be viable at the main event?
I'm not quite sold. I think Magnus also enabled the hero quite a bit.
I don't think we love the pick at the time, but perhaps we underestimated what. I think the Magnus is a big part of why you don't have to go for the Radiance build, because you do have that, flash farm and power ability. So
it's definitely a strong hero. And 23 Savage, what amazes me is that this guy, he hasn't been at the TI before. He was just picked up. He played a little bit in Vichy Gaming. Well, not really played. And then they took him to T1, and he's already on the main stage of the international, and he's picking heroes that are not in the meta and feeling extremely comfortable on them. That's huge. That just shows the confidence.
Yeah, I have a feeling big things are ahead for this kid. But right now, we're actually going to take a trip down memory lane and see when big things were afoot for Alliance.
My favorite memory from past years would be TI3, where we Alliance won. I remember almost every game I played, because most of the games we played there really stood out. It was my first TI I went to, and for me, it was just completely new. Since I watched the previous TIs, I watched TI2, and that's where I got like really into Dota. And going into my first TI in TI3, I would pretty much remember everything about that TI. I was, I believe, 15 or 16 years old boy who was watching TI1, and I'm still a fan of competitive scene of the Dota, so I can't say, I'm only the player. Yeah, right now I'm the player, but also, since I worked as a talent on 3 TIs, I know the feeling when you watch the game and you want to play it, but you also want to watch it because you see good players compete at it. This, one step being fan and one step being player is such a cool feeling, actually. I did watch the TI1. But I was not into it so much. But TI2 was really when I was like, wow, this game is good. I need to really, I want to be these guys, The best TI? Well, all of them are best, It depends on what makes it the best for you, Is it the players? Is it the place? Is it the tournament itself, In the end of the day, it's still a huge, holiday, basically, where you legit enjoy yourself, enjoy your games, enjoy the show, and just love your life,
What do you think is the future of TI? Do you think there will ever not be a TI? Are we going to make it to TI 100? What do you think?
In the end, it's the fans who support the most, right? We get this huge prize pool because fans love the game and they're trying to be part of it in any way they can. So as long as there are fans and community, it will go, infinity.
Do you guys have any memories of TI3?
A lot, yeah. That finals, the TI3 Na'Vi Alliance is one of the craziest Game 5 Grand Finals ever, the comeback. And I remember just sitting in the stands. I was next to the Korean commentators who were at the event, and they're just screaming, going crazy. The Russian commentators on the other side of them, they're going absolutely wild throughout the entire game as well. And it was just, the Battle Royale whole atmosphere was one of the kind of most electric places to be because it was that kind of smaller, more intimate venue. And yeah, it just produced so many amazing matches.
Given that S4 was part of that winning lineup, were you quite excited when you saw him return to the Alliance brand?
For sure. Everyone wanted him back on Alliance. They struggled since pretty much TI3. So with him returning, you're thinking, okay, they can do it again. And I really like what FNG said. It's not about the TI itself when it comes to the Dota and the games. It's about what makes it special for you. It's the experience that you had. And TI3 for me is exactly that. It's what TI1 was for him. that's TI3 for me. It's one of those first ones that I watched that made me really love the game and try and get there. Eventually, I did get there, but not necessarily as a player.
Well, listen up, guys. F&G, he worked 3 TIs as talent, and now he's playing in a booth.
There's still chance.
There's still a chance, but who is the most likely to be chosen to play TI? Hashtag TI10, let us know. But right now, our teams are taking to the stage, and thank goodness for them, none of us are among their ranks. T1 and Alliance. This could be the last game we see Alliance play on the stage here at the National Arena in Bucharest, Romania. So tensions are going to be slightly high in the booth. Meanwhile, T1, let's see if they've got a taste for fast games after that one. So much is going to be on the draft in this one. And Alliance, they're the only team here who don't have a coach. Obviously, we saw Jake talking to March earlier. He's a coach.
All you can do is focus on where your head's at when you're looking at, bouncing back from a tough loss.
Owen?
I'd say, focus on just changing it up. Alliance, I think they do best when they come in one game. If they lose, just going for something completely different. And this man, I'll keep calling for. I just want to see him play as Void. I know that they do like having him on like the Morse, the Deuces, or the AFK, but I really think Nico Baby, get him involved earlier, get him active. They're lacking something when they're just sort of fighting with the 4 of them against a team like T1. Get Nico Baby on something that he can turn up to the fight and fight back against this just incredible power that T1 brings early.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think this team is very similar to that Mineski team that Nico Baby was on last TI. The only time they were winning games was when Nico Baby was like solo carrying the game, getting involved, and he was like, he's the guy. Yeah. I don't feel like, Alliance isn't a team that can do it like OG did yesterday, where Sumail gets completely shut down, but they still win the game because everyone else steps up. Limp, S4, they're just not those guys. They're going to play stable, they're going to be consistent, but Nico Baby is the win condition for Alliance every single game.
So what is so special about Nico Baby's Void?
Oh, it's just great. I mean, the hero's still good. I think he's underpicked, really. And I don't know. And so this day and age where you have so many of these heroes sort of raising up in the meta, like these ETs, it's just a perfect setup. And, what's better against these teams that want to try and brawl as a 5-man than a hero that's going to be able to turn up, lock them in position, and set up a turnaround?
I would love to see that. I would love to see Nico Baby on some full comfort zone, but his Morphling is also really scary. So I would maybe take my attention elsewhere. I would take it to the offlane and the mid lane, and no matter what you pick for Nico Baby, make sure that the other 2 lanes are doing well. So even if you sack him early on, if you get him a bad matchup like that Void versus something that's decent versus Venomancer or whatnot, make sure that Limp and S4 are having a good time, because they will be the ones that get you through that mid game. They didn't have a mid game in that last game. The first game was awful in that aspect.
They need to pick their heroes earlier, I feel like. They first 2 picked the 2 supports. S4 had last pick when half, his best heroes are all banned. There was no Tide, there was no Mars. All these teamfight specialists that he likes to play weren't available. And Limp, they could have first 2 picked the Lina, so I feel like they need to prioritize making sure they get those comfort picks so that S4, Limp can have those kind of consistent performances.
This is the funny thing about Alliance. They did incredibly well in DPC. I mean, they came first back in May. What were they doing well there? Can you remember, Gods? It is a while ago.
Yeah, no. I mean, they were just consistent. I mean, this is, I think, always the story. I think I was talking to Owen about this before. They played consistent Dota. What's that look, Owen?
I was smiling.
We're not used to seeing it.
Yeah.
When he's off camera, he's a miserable git. I am only joking. He's absolutely delightful. And hopefully this game will be game number 2, Alliance versus T1.
Alliance versus T1. Game 2.
Welcome. New draft, new panel. We have replaced some of our panel members. My name's Delava Plus, and I'm joined by Tall Fogged and Canadian Effie, also known as Purge and Jenkins.
Yeah, that's basically right. You got it.
Yeah?
I'm fine with that.
Right, cool.
We'll take it.
Well, we are getting into game number 2 between T1 and Alliance. And in last game, we saw a pretty dominant performance by T1, especially mechanically. They're always that top team. There's a hero that stood out to me, as he tends to, which is the Magnus. And I know, Jenkins, you've been praising this hero a lot this TI.
Yeah, so I've been trying to think about what makes this hero tick. Why is it that it feels so strong in this TI? And I think there's an element of, it's obviously really strong. And I like that people are respecting it now and finally banning it out. But my theory was that in TI, people 5-man because they don't want to lose. You really don't want to lose. You just want to play safe. The whole, family theory, the comfort of being around your teammates. You're not going to be the one that's like throwing the game. I also think at TI, with that 5-manning, the value of being able to like fish for kills goes up immensely. So, it's a cursed name, but Pudge, for example, has been good at previous TIs for the same reason. You have this wall that's being formed with a really good team. You hook somebody out, all of a sudden it disrupts everything. And then also, BKBs is also something that as things get more and more pressured, as you're playing safer and safer, BKB comes earlier and earlier in the builds. And what does Magnus have as his ultimate? It's like the best BKB piercing disable in the game.
And I think the most important thing for Magnus there about the pick-off thing is that you don't necessarily have to commit RP to get those pick-offs now. You can either use Shockwave to collect them or Horn Toss, so it's way less resources to go for those fishes than it used to be.
Yep, 100%.
Sorry, I can't gloss over this point. You say Pudge was good at previous TIs?
He was good at previous TIs.
Like TI6, right?
Yeah.
When they picked it in the final?
Of course.
And the one game they lost?
Yes, of course.
Was with Pudge.
I did a replay review of that game.
Yeah.
Very, very depressing.
Yeah, it was, yeah. just little thing. I want to talk about another hero that we've been seeing a lot. Actually, this combo is pretty strong, as was Fogged was suggesting for Alliance, the Snapfire Tide. The Tide made sense within this teamfight idea, but what has made the Snapfire resurge so much?
A lot of it is just that she has a free force step for their second skill, and because teams are so good at TI, sometimes even 300 distance is enough to keep somebody alive from a gank. So the fact that she has that from the beginning to the end of the game, plus high coordination, makes it amazing. Her ulti is great for getting kills. Her laning stage is really solid, especially when you pair her with a minus armor dual lane like the Tide setup. They have a much higher chance to get kills, and that's one of the issues with Alliance's lineup in the previous match, was that it was Snapfire plus Sand King. It isn't really that synergistic other than a double stun, so it wasn't the best dual lane. They ended up not doing so good against the Wraith King, and I think this is going to be a much better way to play.
I think also on top of what you said about, people are obviously much better at TI than during DPC or something like that. With Snapfire and the even though it's only 300 units, in TI, there's a lot of combos. There's a lot of team fight for all of the reasons that we've already talked about. And so combo breakers have immense amounts of value. And so any hero that can do that, whether it's a hero that gets an early 4-staff or a hero that has one built in, it's going to be good.
Right. And on the T1 side, this time, we see the double support combo, Lion and Treant Protector. I actually want to talk to you, Jenkins or Perch, about the idea of draft theory, because we've been seeing this a lot. That if you have the two straight picks in the first phase, they are starting with supports always, right? They're not revealing a core here. Can you explain to me why that mentality might be?
Well, for T1, one thing that they've done, it was in the Animator that I noticed it, but something that they've done a lot is that they pick complementary heroes in the first phase. So I don't necessarily know if it's important that it's support. To me, it's more so with this team that both of these heroes cover a lot of bases. You have a Treant Protector who's going to be protecting all of the towers. Right. He's going to be sitting in a side lane pushing out creep waves. Does Lion hit a single creep in Dota? Absolutely not. This hero is like completely looking for kills. He's standing in trees, but he needs lanes to be pushed out in order to do that, and that's what Tree does. Tree pushes lanes. So having a hero that can play in side lanes and Tree and push out creep waves, and then having a hero that can actually gank off of it is really important. And then between these two heroes, there's also not a lack of disable. They do good disable, they do good damage. T1 does this. They cover all of their bases in their first 2 picks, so that way their final 3 picks can be whatever makes sense for the enemy lineup.
And it's so much easier to be flexible when that's the case, because then you don't have to make up for lackings. You don't have to worry about maybe your lane pairings be weak. That's a lot of the reason that Alliance opened like they did. A lot of teams are doing this. You grab your 4 and your 3. It's a really synergistic combo, and it brings this much bigger threat against the enemy carry position, who now has to say, like, well, we can't be greedy at all. We also have to pick something good, and it's just going to restrict your opponent's options.
And to add to that point, the 4 and the 3, when they pick it, is always in the first and fourth pick in the first phase. So you can actually protect the 3 a bit with the next 3 bans, and this will change what happened in the last game, but the Sand King didn't seem that strong in the laning phase.
Well, I briefly watched the beginning of the replay, and what mostly cost him, he went Caustic Finale level 1, which is not that weird against a Wraith King. You can do lots of damage, but I hearken it back to that dual lane issue between Snapfire and Sand King. What happened is Wraith King got a couple more denies than Sand King. It took like 2-ish minutes for them to get level 2 or something. It was a bit delayed due to the denies, and as a result, he doesn't have Burrow Strike for a while, so they just have no kill potential on the Bane. And because Bane was such a good laning hero, he actually ended up getting like a range creep pulled to the large camp, then he stacked his small camp, then he pulled his double stack small camp. This is stuff that's like pretty unheard of typically in the laning stage right now.
Yeah, that's insanely game losing.
So like that advantage that they got out of it forced them into this like constant separation where Sand didn't even get to play next to Snapfire. So then Wraith King just has an abundance of net worth advantage, and he still has a Magnus, so it's just going to get more worse for Alliance as the game continues. So it was a lot of a laning issue, but some of that was certainly draft specific.
Okay. Do you think it would have changed if they had not gone for Caustic Finale level 1? Like Burrow Strike or Sandstorm, would that have made a difference?
If it wasn't Bane, maybe, because Bane has pretty high armor, so he's going to resist a little Shredder, and he's going to be able to offset some of that heal with Brain Sap. So I think if it's a slightly weaker support, absolutely. But I think they did the right thing in the circumstance. It's just they didn't lane well enough and they got pulled on too much.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sand King notoriously is a hero that really struggles between levels 1 through 3. But once you have high levels in Sandstorm, it's really easy to lane because you just press Sandstorm, push the creep wave out. If the enemies go on you, you just stun them in it and they take a ton of damage. So delaying his level 3 timing is extremely important. T1 did that, and with heroes like Bane and Wraith King who have a huge amount of kill threat and lane harass, it's really hard to play into that if you've messed up the first 3 levels. So it was like amplified by the fact that T1 had such a strong lane.
So now we hear the clapping, of course, the audience going crazy
Naturally.
because Earthshaker has been picked. And this hero has been moved from the previous 4 or 5 who used to see him into the 3 position this TI. What led to this change in your opinion, Purge?
I'm not sure specifically what made him more popular there, but he kind of did fall off as a 4. Typically, like he can like lane block people and that's very effective, but because it's dual lanes, Earthshaker without his shard being busted, which it was during the DPC at one point, he just felt weaker as a support. But now as a 3, it's like you still get the best of both worlds. You can lane quite well against a lot of cores, and then your impact in terms of team fights is excellent because of Blink Dagger combos. So it is certainly, I would say, top 3 offlane hero right now.
Yeah,
so
it's really good.
no surprise to see it on T1.
Okay. Do you think the cleave they added to Enchant Totem might have helped him?
It definitely helps, yeah. That's something that like he scales better. My opinion on Earthshaker is that he's been pretty decent as an offlaner for quite some time, just because he has that like natural tankiness that's so annoying in an offlaner. Magnus has that as well, where you go to kill him and he's just some 3,000 HP hero. If he goes for treads at like 15 minutes, like okay, this is. But then on top of that, I also think that the game is being played a lot faster than can support a position for Earthshaker, who you can't really take a lane to farm your blink these days. Like in that timing, a team is going to beat you. That's just how Dota has kind of felt for like the last 5 to 6 months, where the hero has fallen off. But you're farming in the lane as Earthshaker, so the timing, you get it like 5 minutes earlier, and in that 5-minute window, you're not going to lose the game.
Right. We see a FNG special, which is a Crystal Maiden. We've seen it, I think, once before, not to great success this hero. I think it was T1 actually picked against LGD. Why? Why the
I like it. It's a lane stabilizer. It's good at harassing. It's going to lower attack speed. That's pretty effective in some of those early trades, and it's going to just make it a lot harder for them to kill Medusa in the laning stage.
Is she like a poor man's coddle here for the Medusa?
I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I guess it's kind of similar. You're blasting opponents, getting lane trade advantages, but extra mana regen on Tide and Snapfire are great too. It's going to make them be able to harass more often in the laning stage.
Is she going to be an easy target for the Slark though?
Eventually, you know, Slark is a later timing hero where, at least looking at this draft for Alliance, I see the Dusa CM lane, which presumably it's going to be that. Even if they put Snapfire and did some, CM4, like that would still do very well against Earthshaker Lion. You know, Lion is very killable. Earthshaker's a hero who's going to sit on the wave, so you're super susceptible from the harass that's going to come out from the Mystic Snake and one of the nukes from either of these 2 supports. And if Snapfire comes in ganks, that's even more potential to kill an Earthshaker. So. I feel like Alliance is going to get a lot of farm this game on both of their supports.
Now, if we look at the Slark a bit, I'd actually like to propose a problem here, and I would like a solution from you, Jenkins. So you have no instant stuns, only roots here. Cookie is not going to surprise him. He's going to Dark Pact, unless you blink Ravage onto him, of course. That's the only solution. What is the Alliance's solution to this? Because mid laners don't usually carry that instant stun, except maybe DK.
Force staffs kiting him. Like I said, I think they're going to get
even more
their supports.
potential to kill an Earthshaker.
So, there's not much
I feel like
I do think with a Dusa, with a Tide, you can kite a Slark enough where you just catch him after his 2 Dark Packs and after his ult. I think that's actually possible, but you probably do want a little bit more. You do want a little bit more. You don't want to just rely on that, because if the Slark is popping off, then he's just going to stick on you. He's just going to get tons of stacks, and you're playing these long fights against him. He's like, okay, that's great for me. If he has +1 item on the Dusa especially, it's just impossible to play. So some instant disabler, some hero who might build an Orchid would be great.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually. What kind of hero could that be?
Any typical spirit hero is usually the way that you end up seeing as Slark
Kunkka
counters.
makes sense.
Kunkka would have been great because you can X him and bring him back no matter whether or not he's going to dispel or not. So that would have given them some easier setup kills, and that's the issue with Alliance's draft. They don't really cross the map super well to get kills, so I definitely agree that they need somebody to be that start of the fight, because Crystal Maiden wants to play behind these tanky heroes, land her spells, sit back for 10 seconds, go back in again. Snapfire is going to want to have somebody that can start fights to make her ultimate feel useful. So
there it is. Okay.
Void Spirit is perfect for that. Jump in, disable somebody, maybe with a Yules, and allow your team to follow up, get a kill.
Can you build up an Orchid like you were suggesting?
I think so. I think this is a good Orchid game. I mean, people are like usually opting to go for a different style of Void Spirit build, which is the Yule Scepter into Sanjin Kaya, and you're just going for this like late game high magic damage build. But I think in this game against the Slark, it does make sense. It does depend on the timings. Like if Slark is already having a bad game, you don't necessarily have to build the Orchid. It's fine to not build the Orchid because the Slark's not a problem. You can just kill him with your ground targeted nukes, for example. But it's definitely in the cards. We're more likely to see it in this game than in the other Void Spirit games that we've seen.
Could you also build an Ag as an alternative to set up for the Slark? I mean, it's 2-second silence, not something you usually need to look out for.
Yeah, for sure.
It's probably a lot safer because then there's a lot of heroes on that dire lineup that you're going to want to silence. So Ags is going to be raw, a lot more survivability for Void Spirit. That's probably more important than the extra right-click damage and higher mana regen.
It is. It depends on how we like. If I think Void Spirits tend to go for the Orchid, like if they're having a really good game.
Yeah.
I think that's just like worked in general. We see that on Spectre as well, where Spectres are not really building the Orchid unless you're like so farmed that you're going to get your next item at the same timing that you would without the Orchid because you're getting kills with it. So that's just kind of where Orchid falls as an item in Dota right now.
The biggest thing T1's missing right now is they need a hero that's going to go frontline and spot enemy squad. Slark can do that with Shadowblade or if he's just generally tanky and ready to go, but they don't really have a frontliner, and Ember Spirit's going to be perfect for that. Somebody that can jump in and set up fights and look for the Echo Slams after.
All right, well, I want to hear from you, Perch, then. What do you like about this T1 lineup?
I like that they can be very aggressive. They have tons of disables. If they do catch one of these heroes, they can probably kill them, but it's going to be really hard against Tide and Dusa because they have so much survivability as well as Kraken Shells. So there's good stuff about them. They got to split up Alliance and kill them one by one.
Jenkins, for Alliance?
I think that Alliance has good heroes for ganking. I think they have good heroes for the early game and the Void Spirit and their 4-man around the Dusa. And I also think that they can play the long fights. I know T1 has Slark, but I still think that the long fights eventually will favor Alliance once they get enough items on their Dusa.
Is there anything they should be worried about as Alliance? Some weaknesses at this draft?
Laning stage maybe for Tide. In most of the group stage games, we saw Slark get banned out against Tidehunter for worries of that extra harass. And with it being a tree, that's a pretty aggressive dual lane with Leech Seed and the Bramble, whatever, Nature's Grasp. There we go.
Yes. I've heard that lane's not actually so bad for the
BSJ?
For the Tide anymore. Yeah, it was from BSJ, so maybe I should take that with a grain of.
No, he's a Slark spammer, right?
He's a Slark. He's an offlane player too, as well. So, but no, it does feel like that. Like Tide with Snapfire, especially, you've got like the double minus armor. It's so much harass. Like you could even skip Kraken Shell.
Well, I would love to go to BSJ now for the last word, but he's not here, so he's lazy. So we're gonna instead go to Sir Action Slaxus once again with March.
Hello. Thank you so much. We have March here yet again. March, a very quick Treant Protector snag after that very standard opening coming from Alliance. Were you expecting that?
I mean, Snapfire is a very highly contested hero, and we like it too, so I think that's why they picked it up. We like that hero as well. Yeah.
All right, well, say no more. Very quickly, chances of this game win. How are you feeling? Give me a percent.
75%.
75%. Well, we're 100% ready to go into that game, so let's go ahead and throw it to our fantastic casters and Sunsfan.
Thank you, Slacks. Recycling memes as always. That's your entire job description these days. Sunsfan here with Cinderin. T1 versus Alliance. Game 2 of this best of 3 in the lower bracket. How do you like these lineups this time around, Cinderman?
I think I like how Alliance this game have solved a bit more of the team fight problem they had in the last game. I think the way their lineup groups around Medusa can work really well. But that said, I also think T1 have some really great tools. To me, this T1 lineup feels like Assassination Squad, right? You've got Ember, Lion, as well as Slark, who can immediately take advantage of any fissure, any overgrowth that you find from the tree line, and just get in there. I think the biggest challenge for Alliance, honestly, in this game is to keep their supports alive. I don't think playing Crystal Maiden is particularly fun in a game like this.
You could have just stopped it.
And even Snapfire, who's a relatively tanky support and stands far back, you're just not safe against these heroes. And a little bit of a problem is the protection that you have against Ember and Slark is relatively limited, right? Like, what do you have? You have Ravage, Frostbite, and a Cookie, and a bit of a stretch you have Aether Remnant, but that one's going to be hard to land. And Slark can purge off all of this if he times it well. So I think Alliance, absolutely paramount in this game. Get off to a good start in the lanes, and you need honestly just stellar positioning on supports in this game to not just end up feeding.
Right. I mean, last game T1 got off to a really good start, and just I mean, that was basically the game. It felt like it just snowballed out of control of Alliance, and they weren't able to really do much from there on out. As top lane, we are seeing some action. Zephyr playing the Treant Protector, which we'll talk about in just a moment here. Actually, we can do it now, Cinder. Your thoughts on this pick, since a lot of other teams don't pick Treant at all.
Yeah.
But T1, one of the few exceptions.
I had this theory, actually, that... so in the group stage, we had a couple of games with Quincy Crew. I think that was in day one, where they picked Treant in 2 games in a row, and it just didn't really work for them. And I had this theory, okay, maybe they've been scrimming against T1 and been rolled. Because, like, almost no other team, like you said, plays it. Oh, Zephyr is in trouble. He will be fine, though. No, almost no other team plays it, and it's been respect banned against T1 by basically every team. PSG even yesterday showing respect to Zephyr's Treant. So we'll see what it's all about here. I honestly like that Alliance let it through to change things up in this game, because obviously the last game just wasn't working out.
Yeah.
So they're choosing to give something else over and see what they can do about it. Unfortunately, to me, this is a really good Treant Protector lane. So I don't think they address the hero very well in the laning stage, and that's a really big part of what T1 use it for, is this hyper-aggressive play coming out from Zephyr.
Yeah, and Zephyr, of course. I mean, Tree as a hero, highest base damage in the entire game, so the level 1 potential in terms of just trading right clicks is better than anybody in the entire game. As you can see, Carl playing the Ember Spirit this time around versus Limp's Void Spirit, so the Spirit Brothers at it again. What's relatively even right now is, I mean, who would you favor just hero-to-hero matchup between these two?
In the mid lane?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much a wash. Honestly, this lane very often ends with a draw. Comes down to who gets the first gank, or like sometimes I think the player who's most likely to find a kill, or the hero rather, that's most likely to find a kill in this lane is probably the Ember. But either way, it generally comes off the back of overconfidence, overstepping to get CS. You're going to see them play completely neck and neck here, right? They're getting the exact same CS, the exact same items. Literally identical inventories, just with different item orientation. Same number of bottle charges. Oh, Carl used his tango.
Oh boy.
You gotta follow suit. Doesn't matter your full health. Do it for the fans.
Yeah, do it for the fans.
And he's gonna have to use it now.
Cookie's gonna connect onto Whitemon in the bot lane. Looks like he'll be safe. Using an Earth Spike to try to trade a little bit of damage going their way. I mean, this is the lane we haven't talked about yet, but 23 Savage playing the Slark against a Tidehunter, which historically is pretty good for Slark in terms of the mid to late game once you get past the laning stage. Because you have just this fat, tanky hero that you can just get stacks off of.
Yeah.
As Cuckoo. Now, looks like FNG is going to take a tumble here. So first blood goes the way of T1 with the Enchant Totem. And actually the thing I had to hold that thought. Double Impale coming out from Whitemon again. S4 gets hexed, and there's the pounce. It does connect. Popping the wand, keeping alive a little bit longer, but 23 Savage. Well, actually, it wasn't him. Whitemon somehow stole the kill from his position one.
I don't like that narrative, Shannon. It's not a steal.
He stole it.
It's not a steal when the support gets a kill. It's good. He did a good.
If you were a position 1 player, you would agree with me.
I am very much not a position 1 player.
I know.
And I'm all about the team.
Yeah.
Getting a good game for your support. He's going to pay it back to you later.
Yeah, we'll see.
He will do something with that gold that's going to make you really happy. Don't you worry.
And Zephyr in the trees right now has his Nature's Grasp ready to go. Has 2 levels of Leech Seeds, so can do even better trading. So they're able to potentially find a kill there. FNG, obviously one of the slowest heroes in the game, is Nico Baby. Not a whole lot of mana to speak of. A nice fissure. Nico Baby forced to go up top. Enchant Totem is there, but don't think they'll get the kill. But he's going to take heavy, heavy damage as a result of this. In fact, Zephyr might be the one in trouble.
Okay.
They're just going to turn it around. So Alliance getting their first kill of the game.
That looked good for T1 because the Fissure and Nature's Grasp were lined up so nicely, and there was no path for Nico Baby to take. He's just tanky enough, and obviously a little bit clunky with these 2 melee heroes walking in together, end up blocking each other, can't really connect onto Nico Baby, and obviously the Crystal Maiden as well, doing a lot of work. Now FNG, however, is out of mana, and he does not have the aura yet, so he's going to send out 2 mangoes as well as a Sage's Mask. So for a little bit of time, he will have some downtime here, but it doesn't really matter. Cuckoo is just free farming close to his tower anyway, and I don't think FNG could have done that much about it. So,
yeah, you can see in terms of CS, Carl just slightly ahead of Limp right now as he's going to get the slide at Fist. Here comes Zephyr from the side. Gets off the Nature's Grasp, going to slow a bit with that Leech Seed as well. Limp in quite a bit of trouble. Pops a Fairy Fire. TP support coming.
He's dead.
Zephyr. Yeah, the last slide of Fist, and now FNG might be in some trouble.
He's dead.
Double Remnant. Zephyr will be able to get up a couple right clicks along with the Leech Seed again coming online. So double kill for Carl to start this game. T1 doing very well. I was going to... Man, it's a good thing I didn't say it because that would be a caster's curse, but for the mid lane, Limp definitely off to a better start until that point.
Yeah. And now Carl is going to pull significantly ahead. He's level 6.5 against Limp's 5.75. I think Carl's net worth has to be up by a few hundred, 800 or 700, pardon me.
Yeah, Limp trying to get some retribution here onto Carl.
Oh, he does
get the stun. Yeah, Carl needs to back up despite Whitemon being here. Well, never mind, Zephyr's on the high ground as well. It's a 3v1.
Oh, if Limp dies here, this is
he gets hexed as well. T1 looking for another kill on the mid laner for Alliance.
Okay.
Oh, he gets off. Oh, he's going to mitigate a little bit of damage there. Turning it around.
Okay.
Gets 2 kills before dying. At least gets something out of it this time, Cinderman.
Talk about value Resonant Pulse. They thought they had the kill. You saw Carl already backing off. He was like, all right, Trey on the line, you just hit him once each, he's going to die. He gets that damage block through that 2-hero Resonant Pulse connection, and then he gets level 6 from the first kill, so he can jump on the second kill as well. So a nice heads-up play there from Limp to get something out of that. Because that looked like he was just completely doing bottom lane.
Absolutely.
23 Savage and Whitemon connecting on S4.
He's playing on the edge here. S4. Get a lot of stacks for 23 Savage now. Whitemon with Zephyr's company should be able to take S4 out. He gets off the gush, but won't be enough to find his way to get the kill on 23 Savage. Halfway to level 6, and once he gets to that point, it's going to be extremely hard to kill this Slark.
You know, dying as an offlaner with a creep wave like that, you're just so sad. Like 23 Savage just denied 4 creeps. He denied a full wave immediately after killing the Tide, and now he's just going to stabilize down here, find his level 6 very soon. It looks like Alliance will try to gank him before then, but keep in mind Slark has night vision, so your angles are a little bit more limited here. And 23 Savage even has a read that something could be coming his way, playing very cautiously. Might even take level 6 just from range without going for the CS. Oh, never mind. We pull it away by his 4 though.
Yeah, still level 5 on the Tide Hunter. And as we talked about 23 Savage, this wave should give him level 6. He's given solo XP. There we go. So has his Shadow Dance to work with. Talk to me about... I mean, this looks like a really good Slark game, like theoretically, against Medusa, against Tide.
I think so too.
Anything else to say?
Like the panel, no, like the panel said, honestly a little bit surprising maybe that Alliance let it through. You pick the Tide first phase.
Yeah.
Most teams go into bans here and ban the Slark. And then, okay, if you want to let that through, that's fine. But you also picked a carry that Slark loves facing. So you made this game even more enjoyable. And it's always important. Okay, hang on, Hanskin.
Yep. Whitemon's going to be there. Here. Being able to clean him up pretty easily. A little bit late to the party is Limp. He gets the haste run at the very least.
It's always important when you look at the draft and you look at how the lineups turn out and you're like, man, this hero's counterpicked by 3 picks that wasn't good. You always need to remember what the draft order is, right? Like you're always giving away information based on pick order. So a lot of the times, even at the absolute highest level with the best drafters in the world, there's going to be heroes that are just hard countered in the game because they get shown early. And obviously that's why a lot of the time you show your support as one of your first 2, sometimes even both supports, so that the cores can have better conditions. But yeah, in this game you did first phase your offlaner, and then I feel like not fully protect him here on S4. So that could end up costing Alliance dearly. He will find his level 6 minute 9, which is not all that great. Cuckoo level almost 8 on the Shaker for comparison. And this is while I believe both position 4s on the, the respective 4s have the same experience as well. So it's just raw offlaner difference. It's not like one of the 4s just took a lot more experience in the lane. I almost said stole. Bad influence from you there. It's not stealing. It's cooperative gameplay.
Okay,
we don't need to. We don't need to spread this agenda of playing cores against the supports even more than they already are in public games.
I mean, to be fair, it's gotten a lot better over the course of the last few years because everybody's getting farmed now. Yep, we have the Hex to start things out from Whitemon. This might be another death, but Cookie keeps him alive a little bit longer, but not long enough. FNG not able to save his mid laner. Limp now with his 3rd death of the game. And like I said, in terms of the 1v1, he was doing great, but since these ganks have been coming, just feels like non-stop from T1. He's just been dying left and right.
And the concern I have right now for Alliance is, what's your move? right? You need to do something about this status quo. It's not favoring you. You have a Slark laning against Tide, he's happy. Shaker's laning against Medusa, he's also happy. He's just, like, Kuka's just farming lane and jungle. He's out farming the Medusa as Shaker in this lane effectively. His net worth being higher by about 300 right now. And as we've already covered, Karl is 5-0. So you're also losing it. So you have to make something happen in the game. This is not the kind of game where, oh, we'll just park, you know, we'll stack some Ancients, park Medusa mid, go farm the triangle, and then we're going to have this, like, strong timing, because in a few minutes, T1 is going to be running at you and pressuring you, and you're not going to get that area for free, so...
T1 getting credit for another kill. I mean, speaking of Ancients, there is a stack for Medusa to eventually take, but you can see that there's a somewhat aggressive ward also placed in that area for T1. So when that is being taken, they'll probably try to contest. 23 Savage, trying to get some trade-off here.
Might dive here. This is dangerous, though. Yeah, he's going to think twice
especially
about
with 23 Savage having his ult, so a lot of passive regen now. Karl gets off the Searing Chains. S4 is going to apply the Ravage, but will it save his life? Negatory. Sleight of Fish finishes him off, but Limp & Company might be able to get some beautiful trades here. Karl does one more Sleight of Fish, but dies shortly after. In the meantime, 23 Savage destroys Crystal Maiden despite getting that freezing field out for about a half a second. Hanskin looks to be next on the menu, but he does get Cookie off in time. 23 Savage, okay, we have the Mortimer's Kisses from afar, but they're going to go for the lip kill. They'll get it successfully. It'll cost him his life, but he does get the stack at the very least of Essence Shift. Nico Baby all alone in the mid lane, so this is exactly what Alliance needs.
Pretty good for Alliance overall here. It might have looked like a bad Ravage, but ultimately they do get pretty much value out of it, finding those 2 kills and almost a mid-tier 1 tower. Lovely play from Nico Baby, especially to make that judgment call as Medusa to go push mid minute 10. That is not an obvious choice to make in this game state, but looking at what was happening bottom, it was definitely the right call for him to go there and get as much out of it as he could. You know, you've got to be like a shark is what he says, and not exactly the most hyper-aggressive carry that can be like a shark that he's playing here, but he's finding as much food as he can there in the mid lane.
That's true. I mean,
a very slow
when
Medusa.
I think of Nico Baby, I actually do think of Medusa because it's literally tattooed on his neck.
Yes,
so
that is true.
He has some sort of affinity with this hero, Cinder, and so we'll see how he performs this game. Tier 1 tower.
Yeah.
He's pretty low on HP here, and T1 want to try to... No, S4. I mean, this is what Tidehunter does. Just puts his fat-ass body here.
You're unlikely to access this tower without a siege creep against Tide with the heroes that you have right now. So S4 making the right call to go there, and then Nico Baby's back to the jungle, probably going to be looking at that Ancient stack. Might triple stack it here before 13 or even quad stack it. It is being pinged by Zephyr, so he kind of has the same read that, you know what? This is probably what Alliance are going to be looking to do next, and he's completely right. The stack is now coming in from Hanskin, so would imagine a smoke play could come up soon. I'm hearing a pick pull.
Yep, that was used to stack. Very important that he had pick pull to be able to pull that off successfully.
They didn't stack, did they?
Okay, good effort.
I think the timing was off.
Yeah, maybe. The pick pull needed to be activated about a half second earlier, Cinderin.
Maybe he activated pick pull and the Ancients got scared and ran back.
Yeah, they'd be scared by a pick for sure. S4. Stuck inside the Nature's Grasp. Looks like he's going to be taken out. Does not have Ravage yet. Okay, never mind. Kraken Shield activates.
That's good call. FNG takes him out there.
From the lane.
Nova saves him. Very good.
It takes him out from the lane. Technically correct is always correct. Alliance looking to go on 23 Savage, who's very low on mana right now, but
here comes T1. Dagger on Shaker. They want to jump in.
Oh, Pounce not able to connect for 23 Savage. Cuckoo, like you said, Blink Dagger's there. It gets the Enchant Totem off. And Limp Astral steps to safety. Does that have any more stacks, though? Another 6 seconds before it comes off cooldown. Mortimer kisses from afar.
Very good kiss.
Actually, onto 3 heroes. T1 taking so much damage, but the Echo Slam is expended to at least get 23 Savage. It's going to be a trade for 3, though. Triple kill for Hanskin with a god tier Mortimer's Kisses.
Oh my god, can you imagine a damage breakdown on that one? 3k damage.
Not bad.
We're 14 minutes in. That is some sick value out of the kisses there, and yeah, T1, they were really looking for that Void Spirit kill, but unfortunately, Lion could not fully connect. I think maybe if Cuckoo Echo Slam's there, that could have bridged the gap, but understandably doesn't want to use it, and just really heads up play there from Hanskin to find that angle and get a big ult off.
Yeah. Why is it called Mortimer's Kisses anyway?
Why not?
It should be like Mortimer's Belches or something, you know? Like he's not... I don't see the connection at all.
I know you really want to make belches happen in this game, but there's only one hero that has those, and that's Pudge, and that's probably going to stay that way.
It's too bad. This is one of the best Mortimer's Kisses we've seen this tournament, for sure. getting really
Zephyr.
big value out of that. Zephyr, Cookie connects on top of him. He's going to be taken out very quickly.
Wait,
Never mind.
what?
Gets the overgrowth off. They got a little bit too confident. Finally gets taken out though, but the TPs are here from T1 trying to turn this around. Limp takes a tumble. 3 dead so quickly in favor of T1. Hanskin will get hexed as well.
Limp didn't finish the kill. He had the...
I mean, would that have made a difference, you think?
He thought the Treant was dying, so he used Dissimulate, right? And he jumped away.
Yeah, he thought he had it for sure.
Yeah, what ends up happening is that instead of killing Treant, he gets a 2-man ulti off.
Yeah.
That allows his entire team to connect on both of them. So definitely going to be regretting that. Like, you probably have casualties there regardless, even if you do kill off the Treant with that Dissimulate. But at the very least, both not you and Tide, you don't
I guess
both
the
get
fact
caught.
that you
and it
get...
forced them to Ravage, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
the thing.
that's
S4
true.
popped the Ravage because he was like, okay, I have to kill the Treant because we didn't get it done with the Void Spirit. And then he doesn't have the Ravage when all of T1 connects. So honestly, kind of a huge mistake there for Alliance that ends up costing them a lot.
As you can see, T1 taking the lead in terms of just the net worth alone. Diffusal Blade now online for 23 Savage.
Yeah, he is strong.
Yep. Going for the BKB next, so looking to fight pretty early. Has 7 stacks already of Essence Shift, actually.
If he has BKB, he only needs to worry about 1 spell for the entire BKB duration, and that's Stone Gaze. Nothing else is going to touch him at all. They don't have significant single target damage. That's one of the things you trade off when you pick Medusa. She's a very good spread damage carrier, but doesn't, until very late, start having that heavy single target because your natural buildup will favor split shot for the farming, and you don't get like something like first item Daedalus or whatever, right? Like, not that any carry does that, but you get the idea. It takes time. You need 3 or 4 items before you truly start just standing your ground against Slark. So with that BKB, he can feel very, very safe. Oh, he's actually maybe getting eyes on Nico Baby here with that night vision. He sees him.
Yeah. But
it's going to leech a bit of the experience.
Ancients are taken out for Nico Baby, so at least that is not contested.
He is going to wrap around. He will see Hanskin here. He saw the Solar Crest being used, and that means Hanskin has no defensive capability from that.
That's
No
the
plus
Diffusal Blade.
armor.
Will just cookie himself to the high ground, though. And we see the Stone Gaze going up, but a nice Fissure blocking him off. Cuckoo, in the meantime, looks like that's going to be the sacrifice. Fissures and dies. So not the setup that T1 was looking for. A good defense from Alliance.
Yep. As I've talked about in a previous cast, I always wonder, it gives an insight into what players are thinking when they ping heroes like this. He pinged just pinged Snapfire Medusa.
Looks like Zephyr is going to die. Gets off the overgrowth, but 100 seconds of none of that for him. Okay, I was gonna say, I don't want to jinx it anymore, so I'm very hesitant now. That took quite a while, which maybe not so good a sign for Alliance, but they're not too far behind right now, so definitely can find an avenue back in the driver's seat for this game.
Yeah, this bottom tower is definitely gone. Nico Baby's going to take that, working on his Scotty. He went for SNY, opting not to go Manta against Treant, which I think a lot of Medusas would. Overgrowth is very annoying to deal with for carries in general. Sometimes in the past we've even seen carries go Manta BKB first too, just to deal with Treant on a hero like, for example, Troll Warlord, who's totally dependent on being able to attack in his ult. But
Overgrowth, Searing Chains, there's a couple things to take off here.
I feel like Manta would have a lot of value here, but Nico, maybe he feels like there's too much, so he'd rather have the status resistance, so at least he gets rid of them faster than having that one quick removal. I could see the logic in that as well. You're playing against Shaker and Lion, there's just too much. Probably. So I kind of like this way of approaching it instead of the Manta.
I like how we just went through a little mind experiment where you've convinced yourself after talking. It's good to see.
Yeah, it's
very open mind. You're able to convince yourself of something else if you want. Looks like Crystal Maiden is done. FNG trying to get the D ward.
That is how all machine learning works, by the way. I train against myself and come to a conclusion.
Yeah,
so
that is that's shockingly accurate and disturbingly accurate, in fact. Nico Baby, like you said, working on the Scotty now. As Alliance trying to stave off elimination here in game number 2 of this best of 3. S4 trying to TP out, but the pounce will cancel. Whitemon in the vicinity as well.
S4 trying to run. S4 trying to move.
He's not going to move.
S4 trying to cast a spell.
Thank you for the commentary, Synderen, as always.
S4 trying to respawn.
I would love for you to cast a team fight.
Synderen trying to
robot
cast.
Voice. Robot cast. Sounds good to me. 23 Savage now. Still a ways away from the BKB.
FNG
Yeah, that's another death for him. 23 Savage now with 9 permanent stacks of Essence Shift. Gonna harass Nico Baby a bit.
Free stacks.
Yeah, and of course you can see the power of Slark against the Medusa just drains the mana so much faster, especially with the Diffusal Blade on top of that.
We did say it was going to be a hard Maiden game, man. FNG is just, I don't know, I'm not in the booth. I would imagine he's not particularly having fun. Not seeing a lot of voice lines, not seeing a lot of laughing. Also can't see him, so that would probably be a little bit hard to see, but
true.
It is, it's tough being a Maiden in this game. And in hindsight, you know, Alliance, when they picked it, perhaps this is one of those picks that's easier to criticize because with the information they had available at the time, you set up even more for a good Slark game because it's good against Maiden, right?
Yeah.
And the heroes that you saw at that given point in time was, I think, Treant, Lion, Shaker, which, from my perspective, Crystal Maiden doesn't perform particularly well against. So maybe you were just really hungry for the aura for your Void Spirit and Dusa. But yeah. Tough game for FNG, that's for sure.
No doubt. We got the
finally gets the D ward. He fought hard for that one.
It's so hard to ward against a Slark. The fact that he just knows that there's vision in the area, especially with the pro. I mean, in pubs maybe it doesn't matter as much, depending on the skill level, but pro games it is so difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's honestly one of the, like, that's what makes Slark such a powerful hero when it's a good pick against the enemy, is the added benefits. It's the fact that you get a hero that can find wards and has 1800 night vision, which is a super crucial part at the highest level of engaging fights, getting information for free, making the right decisions. A lot of the time, Slark actually ends up winning the game because he has information that other carriers just wouldn't have in the same position, and you just make one good call that wins you a team fight and gets you Roche. Just flat out off Shadow Dance and nothing else. So, yeah.
Cuckoo has his Ags on the way, so we'll be able to use Enchant Totem to initiate along with the Blink. Yeah, position 3 Earthshaker always feels pretty good because you can get these items really fast compared to what we're used to. Oh, they're going to see a big collision here. Yeah, that's true. Fake Grenade on Earthshaker, pretty disgusting. S4 trying to tank things up as the initiation comes. Carl, let's see the BKB picked up, or popped by 23 Savage, going to town on S4 in the meantime. You can see Ember Spirit creating so much space on the back line. Nico Baby forced his ult out. Now Hanskin not quite going to die here. It's nice taunt onto Carl, but there's the double kill with the Sleight of Fist. He's taking a lot of damage though. Can he get out in time? As 23 Savage just focusing on Nico Baby. There's the Overgrowth to keep them in place. There's so many stacks now, but finally the Ravage comes out onto S4, but it's not going to matter, Cinderin. This is going to be a full team wipe for T1, and they barely took any damage.
It's such a godly fight from Carl. He just does everything right. See, the fight breaks out, they see the tide, and he gets a little bit of vision on the backline supports. He literally zoned 2 heroes on his own, killed them both, and then lived after. Like, you can't ask for more out of an Ember Spirit in a game like this. I'm not going to say he single-handedly won the fight, but he definitely spearheaded it. So you're going to see the replay here. S4 goes out and breaks the smoke. They're going to poke him a little bit here with Slight Chains, and as soon as Carl sees the backline here, he's just immediately going to go in, BKB up, kill Maiden instantly. Not that that's too big of an accomplishment, but then he's going to go on to the next targets. Notice how Snap can't play. Like, Hanska can't play his hero here. He then kites away. This starts looking dodgy. Good Slight. And then ultimately gets to reset position. The Hex there at the bottom of your screen onto the Void Spirit, keeping Carl alive. So really good teamwork in that.
Yeah, Overgrowth just sealed it right there. As we see FNG now gets off the freezing field for just a little bit, but not resulting in a kill as of yet. Zephyr still more than healthy. Yeah. Divide and conquer right there with that fissure.
Alliance are just not finding moments right now. And while Nico Baby is really farmed this game and is having a good time, the rest of the team are just lacking severely behind based on the nature of the game. Like, yeah, you're going to be able to farm on at least 1 core in most games like this, but Medusa can't carry this game on her own. There needs to be more damage than just that split shot. Right now, Void Spirit, what are you sitting on? You have not even a Kaya Sanj, minute 24 for Limp. Having a very tough game here. Lower net worth than the 3 Tide, who's 0-6 in the off lane. Limp 2-7 on Void. S4 with Hood, Halberd, at least has some sort of defensive tool against that Slark, but the problem is you can outlast, but can you even kill? That doesn't make sense. Outlast was the wrong word. Okay, Nico Baby in trouble.
Nico Baby, he gets off his ult. They're just going to try to withstand it. FNG and company have come to help out as well. Sleight of Fist doing so much damage. FNG again dead. No big surprise. There's the Searing Chains now. Nico Baby trying to stay alive, but it looks like the right clicks will come through. 23 Savage getting that one with the BKB activated, and they're not done yet. Looks like Hansking is next on the list as S4 and Alliance are starting to crumble here, Cinderin. T1 looking primed to take this series 2-0. They lose one, it's only Cuckoo.
6 for 1.
6 for 1, that is true. Dieback on FNG. And into the Roche pit, T1 goes. So you can see a replay here, the initiation on to Nico. I mean, the fact that you have a here, again, we talked about this before, but Slark against Medusa just feels incredible.
Yeah.
Like, is there a better, like, a carry versus carry matchup for against Medusa?
I think
it's up there.
I think Slark has to be one of the best. I think Ursa deserves an honorable mention just because of how much mana burn he can get out so fast with Overpower, but yeah, it's definitely up there. And like you said, Slark being one of the best. We can go back to the draft all we want. Obviously, the game is being played out right now, but probably something that Alliance aren't too happy about. Someone who is happy there, though, Zephyr, definitely having a great time. They chose to give him Treant this game. I think he's done an excellent job. In all honesty, it doesn't feel like Treant has been the absolutely most integral reason why this lineup has worked, though. It's something to think ahead for the other teams that are very likely to face T1 now, as Alliance are very much on the back foot, but perhaps prioritizing other bans against this team could be worth it. Look at that change in just the last 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Slark and company are up with a 19-1 chance of winning.
Yeah, that is rough stuff. 94% win rate, or win probability for T1. Still 4 minutes to go with the Aegis, so plenty of time for T1 to, farm the map. Make sure that Alliance gets kind of starved out of the areas that they want to farm, and eventually go high ground. They don't have the best high ground, again. We've talked about this before, but T1's lineup, that's, I guess, one of the negatives coming out of it, but
they have so much safety on their course. That's the thing. Like, Slark and Ember can farm hyper-aggressively because Alliance's ways of killing them are super limited. I honestly think you can't kill either Slark or Ember without Ravage.
Yeah, you need Ravage.
You can't chain stun long enough, and S4 doesn't have Dagger.
The thing that they're missing, I mean, again, this is hindsight, but burst damage against Slark would be very nice in this scenario.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Jump in from Carl. Looks like FNG is just going to die. No, actually lives with barely any HP, and then finally gets taken out first as Carl will go back to safety. 23 Savage on the back line now, trying to target Limp. You see the Fissure come out as well. BKB dodging the Ravage as a result. Limp is going to stay alive, though. Mortimer kisses from afar. Cuckoo taking the brunt of the damage here. Looks like he's going to drop the first to fall for T1, but 23 Savage looks perfectly healthy for now. Pops his ult.
He still
gets one kill. Nico Baby, very low on mana, which means he is very susceptible to die here, Cinder. And 23 Savage resetting, going back in, a buyback. You see the mana drain coming from Whitemon as well. Nico Baby pops the wand, but to little avail. Zephyr does get off his ult, but the finger of death taking Nico Baby out in spades. No buyback for him. To see a nice freezing field come out, but it's going to result in the kill of Carl. In the meantime, beautiful impale on the two. S4 on the run, trying to get back into this base. 23 Savage not scared of anything because that Aegis is still intact.
That was maybe a little bit too cute there from Savage, but he's obviously able to reset out of here. Guess, how long would he have had on the Aegis? That was still a good 2 minutes left on that. That was maybe a little bit unnecessary, but
2 for 2 with the, I mean, that was a pretty long fight, and only 2 died for Alliance. You got to be happy with that, although Nico Baby is the one that has to survive in these fights.
Yeah. If they could have got away with that, losing any other hero than Nico, and he gets 1 or 2 kills, is probably a net win, but like this, it kind of turns into a draw. Got to keep in mind, Slark is getting a lot of those stacks now. 16 permanent agility on Savage. Surely you've got to pay good amounts of gold for this.
Radiant structure.
Yep, that's just another, like, add that to the pile of benefits that this hero has that we talked about, right?
Yeah, but there are a lot of Slark games that are not good, right?
Yeah.
Like, it does take a certain lineup for it to really shine.
Oh, he
unlike
is
some other
looking.
carries.
He knows they don't see him. Shadow Dance is active.
Yeah. Has his shard, by the way, so has the Depth Shroud to be able to use on teammates or himself.
Yeah.
Basically like a free ult. S4 up. He's going to get pounced on. I think 23 Savage is just trying to get away. And he will be successful at that either way.
Out. They're just going to full reset. They don't have Carl. So We'll wait up. Carl's going to go top, start pushing that out. Obviously, with that, Ags can connect pretty quickly. Going to clean up that wave very fast with double Remnant.
Yeah, working on the refresher. Already has the Ags in his inventory. So we'll be zipping all over the place. The win probabilities actually changed slightly in Alliance's favor in the last couple minutes.
1% down.
Yep.
All right, just another 50 good team fights, and then we're there. Well,
I mean, they do have good team fight, to be fair, but the problem is really is Ember Spirit on the back line just killing supports.
This is definitely doable, and what it's going to come down to is ideally that T1 go on Nico Baby, and you get to play your other heroes effectively, right? One of the big differences in that fight, like you pointed out, was that there was actually decent freezing field for once, and it makes a huge difference. That's what ended up killing Carl. He wasn't expecting that burst of damage coming in from the tree line, so if you do set it up here for Alliance, it could work. Okay, instantly breaking the smoke.
Yeah, Shadow Blade. Got the ensnare coming out as well. BKB, there's the Echo Slam onto 2. Limp already dead in this engagement. 2 dead for Alliance to start this fight out. Nico Baby getting mana drain for a little bit of time here. It's 23 Savage. Now just focusing on Nico Baby along with Cuckoo, getting the stuns out. We'll see how that status resist works from this time. But the mana drain from that Diffusal and the Essention stacks are just getting out of control for T1. They only lose their support Lion and get 4 kills as the trade. And T1 looking to go high ground. There is a buyback on Nico Baby, but will it matter? The building damage is now coming through.
At the very least, that Glyph kills off the siege creep, but this Slark with current 18 permanent agility and 68 stolen.
Pretty good.
Very fast.
See the halberd being used, but this will be a full set of mid-racks in all likelihood for T1. As we're going to get some free stacks to 23 Savage. And T1 going to bide their time here, Cinderin. Like I said, these matches are just so important. You cannot give up leads like this. So likely to play quite disciplined, potentially even waiting for the second Roche.
Yeah, it's not far away. The early respawn is in less than 2 minutes, so definitely is a possibility. I think T1 can just take this top tier 2 tower without too much worry. Carl is going to go and take care of that.
No.
And Savage will also be farming up the Ancient camp on the Dire side. The whole triangle, as a matter of fact. FNG, I feel like I've seen him make this play like 7 times this game. Go to that cliff, place sentry, use a Nova, a D-ward, and go away. And he's died 2 or 3 times there. This time doesn't die, but unfortunately also doesn't find any ward. But whenever you find yourself D-warding that spot multiple times in a row in a game, you know what kind of game it is. Like, that spot is about the most offensive ward you can possibly place as Radiant that is not inside the enemy base.
Yeah.
So pretty indicative of the game state for Alliance. They're just cornered completely.
You can see Nico Baby going for the Divine Rapier, Cinderin. Still about 3k away from finishing it.
You gotta do it, honestly. You have to take that risk. Savage gonna find Limp. Oh, the tower though.
And Limp has to Astral Step. Uses both, in fact, just to make sure he doesn't take another death to his name. And yeah, map control firmly in T1's favor right now as we likely wait for the next Roche. So in 30 seconds we'll find out when that will actually spawn. FNG trying to get some map control back, but it feels like he's just died every time he's attempting this. The poor lad.
And they know the ward is there because of Shadow Dance. So get rid of that immediately. Nico Baby is exposed here. Alliance are trying to bait him. They really want this fight where they go on Nico. They feel like it's their only chance, and I agree with this 100%.
Smoke up as well. And already gets popped. The Ember Spirit on the backline again. Ravage comes out from S4. 23 Savage does take considerable damage, but again, FNG dies at the beginning of the fight. Carl, look at how much space he's creating. Just absolutely decimates Hanskin with just his remnants. Whitemon jumps in with the finger of death. 3 dead for Alliance, and they are likely out of TI10 after this fight. Medusa takes a tumble. Triple kill for Carl. And S4 finally goes down. He's the only remaining member for Alliance with buyback. They call GG, and T1 moves on. Cinderin, Alliance out.
Yeah, there's just no doubt about it after watching these 2 games. T1 just clearly the better team at this event. Alliance got completely rolled both games. There were some glimmers of hope. Again, similarly to game number 1, there's like that one fight around the 10-minute mark. This game, it's the Snapfire triple kill bottom. The last game, there was, I think I was actually also in the bottom area that the fight happened that went well for Alliance. But aside from that, T1 just, they rolled them. There isn't really that much to say. They beat them in all aspects of the game. I like their drafts. They play better in lanes. They play better in the mid game. They got the Roche. They won the team fight. What was a bright spot for Alliance in this series? I'm really struggling to find it, which is a shame, because even if you lose and go out, if you put up a good fight or you look good while losing, just wasn't really their day this time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they did pick Medusa, which is a comfort pick for Nico Baby. The fact that it's literally tattooed on his neck, I would hope that's a comfort when he looks in the mirror every day. But sad to see Alliance go, obviously, because they've had a long road here, and unfortunately doesn't work out. But T1 moves on, and they've looked extremely good thus far.
They look like a team that's going to go further than top 8.
Yes. I mean, a lot of people thought that going in, but we talked about this before. They kind of peaked at the Animajor, and then since then they tapered off a bit, and then the beginning of the group stage here, they didn't do too well, but have bounced back with a vengeance. So we'll see how far they can go. But with that, let's see what the panel has to say about this resulting series in T1 moving on.
Thank you very much, Sunspan and Cinderin. And to be honest, Cinderin basically summed up that match for us. I think our work's done, boys. Should we just... No? Okay, fine. We'll talk about things. I think we should talk about Carl, because Carl had a fantastic game one on that Lina mega farm. But in game 2, it was even more impressive.
He was just completely dominant. From the get-go, from the one-on-one matchup on that mid lane versus Limp. But then again, a couple of supports rotating in, helping him out. He gets level 6 before Limp does, and he just dominates throughout the game. He's so decisive, so clinical in the way he fights his team fights. Always instantly jumps into the
sit, passively play the side lane, then my core is going to go and I get to farm. No, Zephyr is rotating mid, collapsing on that mid lane as well. So I love the way the supports really try and set up Carl for success.
Well, right now we have got Avo on the sidelines. He's got FNG from Alliance to see what just happened in that game.
Thank you, Frankie. I am here with FNG. Thank you for your time, FNG. So I just want to ask you, what's going through your mind right now?
Well,